Good morning, and welcome to the first Good Morning Source Gaming of 2024. Woo! I'm your host, Nantenjax, and joining me today will be Colin, Creeks, and a Shadowlink. Let's go see how they're doing. Morning, everyone.
Oh, morning.
Wow, we're live, we're here. And it's first weekend of the new year. It's how are we all feeling about that? How are we all feeling now that we're in 2024?
Hang on, I have to have my coffee.
Yeah, I was at a birthday party yesterday. It was the first time that I've had alcohol in 6 months. So
oh my god, happy birthday!
Well, not my birthday party.
Oh my god, happy birthday!
Happy birthday to Creeks' friend! Woo!
Yeah, so I'm drinking a lot of water. So if I sound out of it this morning, that's most of the reason why.
Yeah, that's a feeling I understand all too well. Don't you worry. I also have water next to me. Thankfully, it's just to get over a cold, because it's that end of year, start of the new year season where everyone's freezing and ill from too much social contact over Christmas or the holidays or whatever you celebrate.
Yeah.
Well,
holidays or just no holidays at all.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah. And Slink. Hey, yeah, there you go.
We have special guest my cat on today's show.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
Yo. Nice. According to Huff, we also have Silent Pete on. Special guest. Now,
I saw the Silent Pete message from you in the chat, but I don't see it in the chat itself. I just see it in the stream.
Oh, okay.
That's because they left that message at 4 a.m. according to the overlay on the stream.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Very, very good. Right. So, in this morning episode of starting off strong, in this episode of Good Morning Source Gaming, we are going to be talking primarily about 2024, what has been announced and what hasn't. But as always, let's just start by discussing what we've been playing recently, because it's been the holidays. I'm sure we've all been playing something while we take a break. Does anyone want to go first?
I forget, did I talk about the RoboCop game on the last Good Morning Source Gaming?
No, we just talked about the Game Awards.
I feel like I've been playing this RoboCop game for 400 years. But yeah, if you have any interest in a video game where you play as RoboCop, you should get the RoboCop game.
Yeah.
It's really good at being specifically a RoboCop game.
Nice. I saw a lot of people were really excited for it when the demo came out.
Yeah,
It looks really fun.
It's made by that company that made that really bad, like, on rails Rambo shooter for the 360 in the PS3, and then last generation they got the Terminator license and made like a totally competent, like, Bethesda RPG.
Oh, okay.
But set in the Terminator universe, and it's like it very, very weird crossroads of, like, yeah, this is sort of like, you know, janky and what I expect, but also, like, this is also what I expect. Like, this is the good licensed game shit. And so RoboCop is kind of more of that, where it's like, I don't think this is gonna break any, like, innovations in gaming award. If anything, it feels like a throwback to, like, some hot, fresh 2009, 2010 gaming. But it looks really pretty, and they clearly like the movies, and it works good. So yeah, I guess it's a perfect video game. Fucking, that's just all you need.
I've not heard of this Terminator one before. This Terminator.
Yeah, Terminator
RPG.
Resistance.
What was it? Was it a PS4 game?
PS4, Xbone, PC, PS5. Series, whatever.
I have never heard or seen of this game.
Yeah, it just sort of came out, and then everyone was like, "That's probably bad," and then months later picked it up on sale and was like, "Oh wait,
It's actually good.
Oh, yeah, like, oh wait, this is just what I want.
I'm going to say the reviews for it aren't very strong. It's 47 out of 100 on Metacritic for a PS4 version.
I think it's one of those games where it's also skewed because everyone gets like console keys, and the console version is like jank as fuck compared to the PC version that gets updates and stuff.
That does seem to be the case. PC and PS5 have like decent enough scores, but PS4 and Xbox One are awful.
I mean, this game's not breaking any, like, it's not topping any Game of the Year lists, but
Right.
if you like the Terminator franchise and you wanted to play a Terminator game, honestly, it kind of hits the nail on the head.
Sounds a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. And now
And then they just did it again with RoboCop. Kind of Deus Exy. It's cool.
Okay. From what I'd seen, it looked like an a sort of Western RPG kind of thing. Like I saw that video clip where the guy stops the robber outside of the shop.
There's like, it definitely feels like it takes a lot of inspiration from like the Bethesda RPG, but it isn't like an open world game. It does kind of just like funnel you through levels and stuff. I like that you always have your RoboCop gun. You can only have one other gun. You cannot get rid of your RoboCop gun. In fact, you upgrade it.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
So
is it a good gun? I hope so.
I mean, you can. The way they make it work in universe is like RoboCop's like adding PCB cartridges like to his Auto 9.
Right.
And some of them are really silly because the upgrades go from like more damage to just more gore. Like it just somehow it creates more gore effects.
It explodes on impact. Now.
Yeah.
That is funny. But I guess for a game like this, for the sort of market you're aiming for, this is the kind of shit people want to see. What about you, Creeks? What have you been playing?
Well, I played Super Mario RPG because I got the remake for Christmas.
Nice.
And I played that on a trip with a friend of mine, and on the way back, we had a very long car ride that took a while, so I ended up beating both Metroid Fusion and Castlevania Bloodlines for the first times through the NSO apps.
Oh, wow.
On that car ride. It was a very lengthy car ride.
Mm-hmm.
And the week before that, I think the same week of Christmas, I bought one of my friends and a YouTuber that we both watch had recommended My Friendly Neighborhood. And the fact that I was being recommended by two people that I know do not usually enjoy those mascot horror games, a mascot horror game, had me interested.
Okay.
When I found out that it is a Resident Evil 7 clone, I was like, cool, sick, I'm in.
Ooh.
So I played it. It was a really nice time. It's about like 5 hours long. It's a really good sale game. I think it's a good introduction to survival horror for like a younger audience.
Okay.
Mechanically, very inventive and creative. And then just recently, we have a bit in our personal server where usually we will run a marble simulator to figure out which game on the backlog that we're playing next. But some of my other friends, I was chatting with them for a while. I was like, I want to do something different. And one of my buddies brought up the idea of, hey, why don't you set up an account for a like tournament organizing website and just run a bunch of CPU versus CPU matches for a Budokai Tenkaichi 3. And whatever wins determines the game that you play next. And Doom Eternal won that, but my brother and his girlfriend came into town, and we're staying here for a little bit, so I haven't had a lot of time to sit down at my computer, so instead I've been playing a little Spider-Man 2 in the meantime, so I'll probably beat that before getting around to Doom.
Fair. I like how these ways to decide your backlog are getting more and more elaborate.
Oh yeah, it took
in each entry.
The little, it was 16 games on the backlog. That little Budokai Tenkaichi tournament just running that with the CPUs for double elimination took like 2 or 3 hours. We made an evening out of it, basically.
It reminds me of when I was like really young, used to do similar things, but with Smash Brothers Melee, where you'd get like the largest bracket size in tournament, and then have everyone as CPU, and then try.
Yeah, we were joking about doing something. Yeah, we were joking about doing something similar with Brawl. Might be something fun to do for a future one.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of doing something because with Ultimate and Amiibo soon, because they're updating the game, aren't they, to add a new Amiibo support feature? Yeah, when Sora's Amiibo comes, but they're actually adding some sort of Amiibo functionality in the game that wasn't there previously, like something you can do with your Amiibo. I can't remember exactly what it is off the top of my head, but I was thinking, what if I train all of the Amiibo I've got actually, and then just run like an Amiibo stream sort of thing, Amiibo tournament. I think that might be a funny thing to do this year at some point. Although it would require me sitting down with all of the Amiibo and actually trying to train them up equally so that they all got an even chance.
I'll never forget going to a convention in 2015, and like that was during like the height of no one being able to buy these goddamn amiibos, and they were having like amiibo cockfights where they would just like have two amiibos fight each other, and whoever lost would have to like they would actually like just destroy the amiibo.
Yeah, I remember reading about that, because I think for Smash for Wii U, we did hold a brief Amiibo tournament like the year they came out, like after a year of them being there, and I remember that being brought up, and I was just like, yeah, we're not doing that. I put too much money into getting these things. I'm not breaking them.
Yeah, some guy spent like $60 on a dark pit and then just threw it into the tournament immediately.
No training, let's go.
The funniest thing is that all the tools that were supposed to break the amiibos kept breaking, because some of those amiibos, like the Pac-Man one, are just solid plastic.
Yeah.
So they're actually like, you can't put that in a blender, you'll actually break the blender.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, enjoy doing it when you get to it, Creeks, because that's a really good game. Like really, I like both of the modern Doom games.
It's really funny
solid.
because a few years ago I went on a because I played Half-Life for the first time in 2020 and was like, wow, this is the shit I've been missing out on my whole life. So for the past 4 years, I've basically been in the boomer shooter minds, just getting into boomer shooters. Loved Doom 2016. Played all the classic Doom games. Loved Dusk. I think Dusk is like one of my new favorite video games as of current.
Yeah, Dusk is phenomenal.
Yeah, love the Half-Life series. Love the I loved Blood when I tried it. Got really into Quake 1, not as much into Quake 2, but I played a little Quake 3 online. I was really bad at it because I can't b-hop for shit, but it was a lot of fun. But obviously you'd think that playing all of those games I'd have gotten around to Doom Eternal by now, but when I first tried to play it, because I was doing the big Doom marathon, I played it at that time that the PC version was having weird issues with NVIDIA drivers, which was like a specific like month time frame that I happened to play it in because I got really unlucky. And sure enough, it crashed at the cultist base, and I was like, I don't know, a third of the way through the game. And I tried to go out of my way to fix it and accidentally ended up wiping my save file. So I just kind of pushed it back onto the backlog, and it just kind of hasn't come back up to the top of it until now, which is on me.
Oh, that sucks. I hate it when stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
It's like horribly demotivating. I need to get back on the boomer shooter thing. I played through, like, when Doom Eternal came out, I got all the Doom games, but I only ended up playing through the first two. And then I got Doom... I got Doom 64, right, with Doom Eternal, which means all of my like Doom 1, 2, 3, they're all on the Switch, but Doom 64 is on the PlayStation. Because I got it with Doom Eternal. And so I just not moved over to the PlayStation. I just didn't move over to the PlayStation to actually play Doom 64.
Just buy it again on sale. It's like
I could do. I know, it's like really cheap.
Like they go on like If
But
you
I
own a
own it.
Switch and you don't own the entire id Software lineage, like, it'll cost you nothing. It's one of the best economical values on the Switch.
But I
Yeah.
could use that pound to buy something else, like a chocolate
No,
bar.
you could use the gold. You don't even need to buy it. You need to use gold coins. You could just
It's
have
true.
you bought AAA clock in the last year? You have enough gold coins to buy at least one Doom installment.
Oh, damn. It's a good argument.
Yeah.
What about you, Slink? What have you been playing?
All right, say it together with me. I've been playing
Garden of Banishment.
Honkai Impact 3rd.
Oh god.
The quiet man.
Okay. So I recently went through the Elysian Realm arc in Honkai Impact 3rd, which is like this weird arc that comes out of nowhere. With like it deals with 14 characters and 10 of which are like new. You've never met them before. I was like, damn, this is crazy. I wish I was with anyone like that I already knew, like seeing what they're up to. But they hook you in because one of the main characters is one of those 4 characters you already know, and the main villain at that point is one of the other 4 characters, and then there's another main character with you and somebody from like a manga, a side manga that you that's important to the plot that you have read before this, and so you're like, okay, I know who these people are. Who are the rest of these people, and why should I care? And by the end of that like 10-15 hour arc, I was crying.
Damn.
Oh man.
They made me successfully care for this group of 10 characters that I never met before and didn't care about whatsoever for the first like 2-3 hours of story that they were in. And by the end I was like bawling. My heart shot out. This
wild.
game's great.
Yeah, sounds like a good experience.
I love this game. I am almost done with part 1. The Elysian Realm arc leads up to chapter 31 of part 1. So I'm starting chapter 32 soon, and that's the final arc of the of part 1, and it's gonna be cool.
Wow. Will we get Honkai 4th Impact then after that?
No, we're getting Honkai Impact 3rd Part 2.
Ah.
They're adding it to the game itself. Like, it's just, they're updating the game. This game has been going on since 2016. This game was made by 7 people originally. The increase in quality over time exponentially, like, it goes up. It goes up so much. It is unbelievable. Because like during that arc, there was this really, really well directed, well animated, gorgeous real time cutscene, and I was like, "What the hell is this game now?"
It's when the money started coming in. When you can track when Genshin Impact started to the increase in ability of Honkai. The Impact for
not even fully, but this is where like it was significantly noticeable that there was an increase in budget, and this like lines up pretty much with like the year after Genshin hit. So yeah.
So yeah,
I love it when they use all of that funny gacha money and just put it straight back into their projects.
I mean, that's what you'd hope for from the gacha.
That's what you would
stuff,
hope
yeah.
for. I know the only reason this company is even a gacha company in the first place is because they actually were making honest games that they released for a one-time purchase on mobile, and they almost went bankrupt because of it. And the moment they switched to gacha, they were doing well.
Yeah,
so
it do be the Fate Go conundrum. all
It's
over
the mobile
again.
market. Nobody wants to pay a lump sum for a video game on the mobile market unless it's like selling itself on pure irony, like fucking Flying Gorilla.
I've not heard of this mobile game.
Don't bother. It's it is a game that is weaponizing irony. If you've ever seen the Flying Gorilla ad, I'm going to ruin it for you right now. The person in that trailer, not the developers. The developers are Japanese.
Okay.
They are weaponizing irony to sell a very shitty game, one of the worst games I've ever played. I'm so mad.
Right. I
Honestly,
see.
ever since you told me that, I thought it just makes it like funnier to me that it is an actual Japanese like mobile game company making a game that specifically is designed to look like a shitty Unity asset flip that a random Western indie developer would just cobble together for easy money. Because it's a really funny hustle. The fact that it worked, if anything, is just funny to me because it shows that like they were banking on people to do something stupid and it worked, and at that point I really can't be mad.
That's very true. Meme culture is definitely it's a viable thing to take advantage of when you
You
wanna
absolutely
get
can be mad.
stuff.
I just can't because I know a hustle when I see one.
That's why the only mobile games I buy are like the full-priced RE4 for iPhone.
God. I did play. I think I need to check my Apple Pass. Not Apple Pass. I had like the Apple Arcade equivalent, but
Apple
for Android,
Arcade experience,
but for
hell
Android phones instead.
Oh, did you play the Sonic? The
I
new
did, yeah.
Apple Arcade Sonic game that's like actually like totally fine.
Yeah, I did actually.
Yeah.
I played it. I played it over Christmas because I had a trial for Apple Arcade over the holidays, and it's actually not too bad. It's
God, I forgot that came out because I don't have access to Apple Arcade.
yeah, I usually don't. It's just that I happen to be going home and my parents
Yeah.
have it, so I was like, "I'll play it while I'm down here." And
I'm
it's-
locked in, baby.
it's a pretty good like template for what I think people
I was
want
gonna
3D
say,
Sonic to
it-
be.
To me it feels like a lost Wii or 3DS title.
Yeah, it definitely has
Like-
that era of jank to it.
Yeah, but also like the level design is just so like I think it's really fun. It's obviously not like incredible. A lot of the fun is from the fact that it's like easy as shit, but like let me tell you, it's actually cool to be, as much as people want these Sonic games to be about zipping around and going fast, that's a game where I like zipping around and going fast.
Yeah, I think they've done a lot to sort of find a good middle ground between what the Sonic Adventure crowd keep asking for, and then what modern Sonic is kind of doing, like pre-Frontiers. And like they've done a good way of implementing the different characters and having them all like feel slightly different. Like you'd approach the level with each one differently, but letting them still all play the same level. Like Knuckles and Rouge can climb and dig and glide, and Tails and Cream can fly and are slightly slower, and Sonic and Amy are all about speed and can do like the tricks off ramps and stuff, and this light speed dash, that's their gimmick. Like I think it's a very good way of implementing all of those. I think flying is a bit wonky. If I was to criticize anything in that game, the flying could definitely be improved. But I think
Were you playing it with controller?
I wasn't
or...
playing it with controller. I had to use touchscreen, so I don't know how much
Yeah,
of my experience is.
I think that's the other.
issue.
I think that's the other thing too.
Yeah,
Because I was playing it on my TV with a DualSense.
just pretending
And that's
it wasn't
like-
an Apple thing.
Wait, what?
Just pretending it wasn't an iPad game, basically.
Well, that's the thing with all the Apple Arcade games. They all have controller support.
That's pretty cool.
That's apparently like I guess for the exception of like crossword games, obviously. But yeah, like basically every game works with controller, and when you play it with a controller, it feels like a video game, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's funny. Like I know this game won't come off mobile because Apple paid for it, and the developers as well. They've only ever done mobile Sonic games, but they have a pretty good track record. They like seemingly know what people want to see in Sonic games and know how to like implement it correctly. It doesn't have quite the same polish as the main Sonic Team games, but it it feels more in line with what people expect out of Sonic than the Sonic Team games.
It feels like
do.
if they released it on the 3DS for like $30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good game. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny though hearing the phrase "not the same polish as the Sonic Team games." I will say that as somebody that is an open fan of that franchise.
I think I get what he means though, because there's no
like,
it doesn't have like it doesn't have like a ton of visual flair or anything. Like the environments are kind of like, they really do just feel like oh, we made some cartoon. Here's a cartoon laboratory. Here's a cartoon island here, and then you could just shove the Sonic characters on it.
Yeah, and the gameplay animations as well, like the facial animations and stuff, are a lot simpler in this game than they are on Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I enjoyed that. It's also not the only Sonic game I was playing. I've also played Sonic Superstars, which I like.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Which I really liked up until I beat the main game, and then I really hated it after that point. It's got some of the worst post-game content I've ever experienced. Somehow, despite the fact that it's basically the same game again, they just made a worse version of the main campaign and made it the post-game, and it's baffling. It's terrible. Although I do like the classic Sonic designs, and I like Trip, the new character, a lot. It kind of makes me... it's just a thought I was having over the holidays while in the Sonic mood, but they haven't done many Sonic spin-offs since they reintroduced the classic games. Like, I think Team Sonic Racing is, like, the only one, excluding stuff like Sonic Runners and stuff. So it makes me wonder what they're going to do with classic Sonic going forward, because it's one thing to only have, like, the 2D games, but will they do, like, classic Sonic spin-offs? Because they seem quite adamant about keeping modern Sonic and classic Sonic characters separate from each other. But it would kind of suck if, like, Trip, who's, like, a pretty good new character to the Sonic universe, we basically never see her again because they don't make any spin-offs in the classic line.
Never seen again. Well, I mean, you'll see her in those occasional animated shorts or IDW comic tie-ins that they make for the classic characters, but
yeah, it just kind of makes me want to, like, instead of the next Sonic Racing, make Sonic Drift 3.
Slowly but surely, I think we've been, like, chipping away bit by bit so I think it's no secret that a big part of the reason that, like, post 06, like, I think 06 and a lot of the games surrounding that, and the, like, Too Many Friends controversy, if you want to call it that, or a bunch of the dumb stuff that was going on with the Archie comics before they finally kicked Penders out, essentially, and then Penders suing for his characters because BioWare used stuff that was similar.
Yeah. Mid to late 2000s Sonic.
Yeah, that whole era of time is a big part of the reason that Sonic has a bunch of weird restrictions and guidelines and mandates on what they not even really can or can't do with the character, but what they want to do with the character and are willing to let the writers negotiate for. I think we've been, like, slowly but surely seeing those kind of get chipped away over time as the kind of, like, Western branch of Sega, which is made up of a lot of people that grew up as Sonic fans, are starting to kind of get their way creatively more and more with this series. I can only hope that and I know some people actually prefer it this way because it makes the two sides of the franchise more distinct, but personally I can only hope that they just allow the classic characters to have modern designs, because I think it would be really nice for them to be able to make, like, I don't know, a new Sonic racing game or a Sonic fighting game or, a Sonic, I don't know, tactical RPG or whatever that has, modern Mighty and Ray or Trip or Team Hooligan, which that is another funny example of that. Originally, they weren't allowed to call them Team Hooligan or have those three characters be associated because that was purely an Archie Comics thing. That was not Those
Yeah.
three characters really weren't related in the original games outside of appearing in fighters together, and it does certainly seem like they are canonizing the Archie depiction of those characters. So.
Yeah, well, that seems to have been the case, because I did a lot of research into this over the holidays, because I just got, like, Sonic brain rot for a little bit. And I know, I know Ian Flynn got told off for including a reference to the hooligans in the modern IDW comics, like, right at the start. But since that point, they seemingly, like... And maybe it was Sonic Mania, because that also included the three of them together. Like, Fang, Bark, and Bean all show up in that one boss fight. Like,
It did, but that was, like...
I don't remember time-wise when that...
Yeah, that was
up.
either just like, oh, hey, it's these classic characters, do you remember these guys? And it just happened to be those three. Or it was a hooligan reference, which is kind of just full circle at that point.
Yeah, but, like, they've included... Like, they started calling them the hooligans in the classic comics, I think, and...
Yeah.
They called them that in the encyclopedia. The Sonic Encyclopedia is really interesting, I think, because it fully acknowledges, like, everything to do with Sonic, including stuff like Sonic Chronicles and Shade and stuff are in that. Which makes me think, like, it started making me wonder, like, how much of the Sonic cast and characters does Sega actually do own and they just don't use? Like, I always sort of assumed that they sort of sidelined Chronicles and Shade and didn't want to talk about them again because of the Ken Penders stuff. But seemingly, like, they own them.
Did. That is,
so...
Yeah, no, they did. That is true. They
Yeah.
do still own the character. They just sidelined all of that content because they nearly got sued and watched their business partner get sued for it the last time they tried, and that's directly responsible for part of why that business relationship fell apart.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of interesting that they... Because, I mean, I was a big Shade fan, so I don't like... I'm annoyed at the fact that she's not around anymore. But, like, they could use her again, because they do still own her, and she's, like, an original character. And it was looking through the Sonic channel, where they have, like, the characters section on the Japanese website, and they have, like, whole bio pages for characters like Marine and Emerl, who have, like, only shown up once and never get used again, but they're up there with all the main cast and have actual pages where there's some other, like, key characters from the Sonic universe that just don't. Like, any of the classic characters, like, none of them.
Yeah,
the Sonic Channel doesn't have a classic
Sonic
section.
Channel is a really inconsistent website in terms of a lot of stuff like that. No, it's... sometimes I just think about it. It'd be really funny to take a look at what that franchise would look like in a universe where Archie actually held on to their legal documents, because the only reason that Ken Penders was allowed to take all of those Archie characters and reformat them into his own original characters that were horrible, and do the Lara Sue Chronicles and whatever else that he's working on with them is because Archie Comics lost the paperwork saying that everything that he owned or everything that he created for the Sonic series at Archie belonged to Sega and was licensed out to Archie Comics.
Yeah, and so that's why he won the lawsuit, and that's what.
I've heard that they were very. I've heard that they were very upset with Archie about that.
I mean, yeah, it was like kind of one of the key decisions why they moved from Archie to IDW.
Yeah, I do think that, like, I do think that the Archie comic would have ended eventually, either way, and we would have gotten something new to take its place, just based on what happened with Mega Man and a bunch of odd decisions that Archie was making at the time. But it is it is funny to imagine a world where they didn't have to literally retcon beam half of their main characters for their comic out of existence.
Yeah.
All right, we're being told we got to move on, so.
Yeah, I could do a whole blooming podcast around Sonic, but we'll go on to other stuff. The actual game I've been playing over the holidays that I'm still playing is Persona 5 Tactics, which is a pretty fun game. Pretty fun strategy game. I didn't realize that it was actually made by P Studio, like the same team who made Persona 5 Regular and Royale.
Oh yeah, this is like the first actual in-house spin-off
Yeah.
ever.
It's
Yeah.
it's kind of bizarre, but I guess that kind of sort of canonizes it a bit more. I'm really I find like the Persona 5 canon to be really strange right now because like this Persona 5 Tactica, when I played it, well, I mean, I'm still playing it. The main campaign very clearly feels like it follows on from Persona 5 Scrambled, which follows on from the original Persona 5 and not Royale. But if you play the DLC, which I did, I've beaten the Persona 5 Tactica DLC. That's very clearly happens during the events of Persona 5 Royale, and is meant to lead into Persona 5 Tactica, but Persona 5 Scramble doesn't happen in the Persona 5 Royale universe, or if it does, it's very strange that they don't reference anything that happens in Persona 5 Royale.
Here's the thing. Persona 5 is like the second big boom in popularity and a bunch of spin-off media that Persona has gotten since the late 2000s. The first was Persona 4 being a really big deal comparatively to the other Persona games before when that came out, and that became a big cash cow for them. And when Persona 4 came out, they made Persona 4 Arena, the fighting game. And the character Mary is not in that game at all because that game was being developed and released simultaneously with Persona 4 Golden. So Persona 4 Arena takes place in the original Persona 4 continuity, and then Golden retcons it. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which was the sequel to Persona 4 Arena. A lot of people think it's an upgraded edition. It is not. It has different UI, different mechanics. It plays differently. It's a sequel. But the sequel has Mary and references events that only happen in the golden version of the game, and is a direct canon story sequel to the original Persona 4 Arena, meaning that they just conveniently did not mention any of the stuff from the game that was not out yet at the time that the original game took place. That is the case for every Persona spin-off that is developed simultaneously with each other. As far as I know, I do not believe that there is a single core video game that is not canon for Persona. That is
the only two non-canon, other than the two Q games, which are vaguely canon.
So the Q games happen, but they happen in like a time travel bubble.
Yeah. I know it's a time travel one, so that's why it's kind of like
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's a game that doesn't matter. But I know Persona 5 and Persona 3 Dancing are both not canon.
Yeah.
Those two are the those two.
Oh yeah. No,
confirmed
those two didn't happen.
They're
They're the only ones. They're the only ones. Yeah.
But like,
there's another game that didn't happen. However, it's weird.
Yes, Persona 2.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Innocent Sin doesn't happen in the modern Persona timeline.
Oh, really?
Except it does, because the protagonist from that game hops timelines over to this one. So it exists. It happened, but it didn't happen.
I mean, I guess Persona 3 Portable did the same thing.
Yeah, I thought about Innocent Sin because I'd already been spoiled years ago on the fact that happened, but I'd put that in the same like vein as the Q games, where it happened. It's just not really relevant to the other titles because most of the characters that would appear afterwards would not remember it happening. Though obviously being a main series game that is one way or another, the events that happen in that game to create the new timeline are very relevant to the new timeline existing, so it is oddly very critical despite not happening.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested whether or not Persona 3 Reload will just retcon the answer out of existence, because I know loads of people just do not like Persona 3 the answer.
I think it's just going to ignore the answer.
Yeah.
I actually don't think Reload is going to have like some crazy fucking super ending.
No, I think it will just follow Persona 3 Fez as per normal. I think.
Yeah, no, I think it's just going to end where Persona 3 ends and then not acknowledge the answer whatsoever.
Yeah, but this like neatly wraps back around to Persona 5 Royale and Persona 4 Golden thing, because I think with the new additions they made to Persona 4 Golden, none of them are like super affecting the cast to the point where it would be weird if they never brought it up. So you can sort of get around the fact that they wouldn't mention anything like Mary or anything that in Persona 4 Arena. But with Persona 5 Royale and introducing Sumer as like a new Phantom Thief and a new sort of part of the group, and then just not acknowledging her at all in the next two games as if she's gone back to her home planet type deal.
If I remember
is a
correctly,
weirder thing.
If I remember correctly, I think there is a single throwaway line of dialogue in Persona 5 Scramble where they offhandedly mention, "Oh, it's a shame that Sumira can't be here because she's on her she's like on a gymnastics trip," or it's in Tactica. I don't remember, but in one of the new, or like one of the spin-offs that happened or was developed concurrently with or after Royal came out, they just offhandedly wave that she's not there because she's doing something.
It definitely wasn't Scramble, because I think I would have remembered that. It could be Tactica though. I haven't beaten Tactica yet. I'm only up to the Second Kingdom in it, so that it's entirely possible that could come up. But, like, I mean, there's a whole Persona 5 Royale DLC pack in Tactica, which is a separate story that takes place during the events of Royale that seemingly exists just so that people can play as Akechi and Sumer without having to have them be in the main story, I guess, for anyone who didn't play Royale and would be confused about the fact that about who Sumer is or why Akechi would be there. It's like... I just think it's a kind of an odd thing, because the Persona 4 spin-offs, only Arena was the only one I think made during the time of Golden, and the rest were all made post-Golden, whereas Persona 5, because that was such a big game right from the start, they started making all the spin-offs like immediately, before Persona 5 Royale had even started. So it's created, and the new stuff in Persona 5 Royale is far more important to the plot than any of the new stuff in Persona 4 Golden. I just find it a very strange thing that they have to work around. And I'm sure Persona 6 is going to make it even worse, probably, by the trajectory they're going for. Whatever they decide to do for that game. But yeah, Persona 5 Tactica. I'm enjoying it. I think it's actually pretty fun. I'm enjoying it actually more than I enjoyed Mario plus Rabbids, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I really enjoyed the first Mario Rabbids, and then the second one I got most of the way through and just kind of fell off of it in the end, but I haven't with Persona Tactica. We'll see. But I enjoyed it enough that I got the DLC, the Splatoon-ass DLC mode.
Yeah.
They've got.
Yeah, that reminds me, I have a friend that has really been looking forward to Metal Slug Tactics, which was supposed to come out in 2023.
Yeah.
And we were talking the last week of 2023 about, like, hey, where's Metal Slug Tactics, you know? Which, I guess that's just coming at some point this year. It's probably a low priority title for SNK because, it's developed by an external studio, and it has a lot of, new hands on it, a lot of contract work. It is effectively a licensed title for them, so probably just will come out when it comes out, which reminds me, we do have our second segment coming up.
Yep. I was going to say
stuff we're excited for in 2024.
I was going to say it's a perfect segue into the games that we know about that are coming out in 2024 that we want to see more of or play. And there's quite a few actually. We got quite a strong start to this year. That first week of February is like absolutely stacked with Final Fantasy and Persona 3 Reload and what's it called? Tekken 8. Tekken 8 I think it's the week before, but Infinite Wealth I think might be that same Friday as Final Fantasy and Persona.
Infinite Wealth is being released on the same day as Tekken.
Same day as Tekken, that's it. I knew it was like that 2-week period where there's a lot going on. And then, of course, we got Prince of Persia, which is about to come out. And then another Code is about to come out. Is out the same week as Prince of Persia. Which is really a shame, because I think that new Prince of Persia game looks really good. And I played it at Gamescom, and it ran really good. I think it's got the potential to be one of the better Metroidvanias released in like the last 5 years, and I don't know if I'll be able to get it when it comes out, because there's just so much other stuff happening and coming out that I can't really justify buying it on release.
Feels like that's the Ubisoft like way to go, is where they finally make their games look really good like 2 weeks before release.
Yeah.
And then it's like, do I spend full price or do I wait a month for it to be $20?
Because that's the thing.
They usually do.
I would wait a little bit, but I might try it a little while after, once it does inevitably get a price drop, because it does look very good. I have a friend that's very excited for that game. He's played a lot of the Prince of Persia's. I've actually never gotten around to them. That might be something that I might be interested
in. It also runs at
it's
like full res 60 FPS on Switch.
Yeah,
it's a really
and
good
like
looking
4K 120 on the next gen. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool.
Like I played Prince of Persia at an event, and it was really good. Like, there's a lot of really fun flow movement to it. The frames didn't drop at all. The dialogue is pretty on point. There's good cutscenes. The abilities are all good. Like, it's a very, very well done game. The only criticism I'd have with it is there's one ability where, and I mean, this is entirely a me thing, to be honest. There's one ability where you can like basically set a point for yourself, and then the next time you press it, you'll just warp back to that point in the room. So you can like basically set an escape route if you're about to go into a big conflict where you put down this mirage, then go and fight a bunch of enemies, and if you look like you're about to get hit, you press this button, he'll warp back to the safe spot that you put down.
Yeah.
And you can use it to do some really tricky things, but I kept accidentally clicking it with my sausage fingers and warp into places when I didn't want to. But I feel like that's definitely a me issue, not a game issue. It's fun. I would highly recommend it. It's just the issue that it comes out the day before another Code, and that's the game I would want to recommend more to people.
For sure.
And plus, because I'm already playing Tactica right now, and I want to ideally try and finish that before another Code comes out, I don't think I'm going to have time to fit Prince of Persia into this gap. So it's going to have to wait. And then we got like a week later, and we get Like a Dragon, Apollo Justice, Tekken 8, and Under Night in Birth 2. Like,
they're actually
absolutely.
it's so fucked up that they didn't do like a physical over here for the like Ace Attorney trilogy 1 through 3, but they were like, "Yep, 4 through 6, that needs a box."
I'm guessing
the people have spoken. Put that in a box.
I'm guessing the original trilogy did well enough, and maybe even Great Ace Attorney did well enough that they can sort of justify having a box time for this one. But you're right, it is kind of what the hell that the first one doesn't get it over here. So it just looks really strange if you're a collector.
It'd be nice if they went back and they made like a reprint, or they did the classic Capcom, like, here's a cart for 1 and a download code for the rest, or whatever.
Maybe on the Switch 2 you'll have the Ace Attorney sexology or whatever, however you'd say 6 of them.
I'm back.
Put them all on the same cartridge.
Hello, everyone.
But yeah, we got Like a Dragon, Apollo Justice, Tekken 8. I'm actually really looking forward to Tekken 8. I'm not like a big fighting game person, but Tekken's one of the few competitive fighting games that I kind of enjoy playing with people. And again, I played the Tekken 8 at an event, and I really liked it. So I'm kind of debating getting it, but if I get it, I'm going to have to get it for PC, methinks. So
I couldn't get Tekken 8 the demo working on Steam Deck, but people did, and they said it ran good, so I trust them. I like some Tekken.
Yeah. They kept my main, Elisa, in the game, so I'm good to start immediately. Although I like the new girl, the Hiachi replacement that they've added. I think I'm actually going to go to a Tekken 8 launch event. The UK launch event is actually going to be held close to mine. A friend of mine's actually the one who's working with Bandai Namco to organise it. And so I'm thinking I might pop down for that and get completely bodied by the fighting game community.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but it's fun to get bodied when you're like getting bodied by people that are having a good time about it.
Exactly. I'll have a beer in
always play
hand
fighting
and I'll
games.
be
Yeah.
laughing as I get destroyed on stream, probably.
Yeah, I always play fighting games with my buddy Jason, and he is much better at fundamentals and combo routes than I am. So usually I just get destroyed by him, but sometimes I get a couple of cheeky wins off of my ability to press buttons harder.
Mm-hmm.
They never expect a raw super, except when they do, but they don't.
Yeah, that's the technique. That's how you get through competitive fighters. They don't expect you to just press every single button at once and see what happens.
Well, the thing is, like, I've been playing fighting games for a long time, so I do have like a fundamental knowledge of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, my execution is generally fine enough to get what I want to come out when I want it to come out.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is I have a bad tendency to like panic button.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and just
same.
like I have a plan until I get punched in the face, and then I stop having a plan.
Then it's whatever I can do to get out of this, when really you just want to try and block.
I played Street Fighter 6 for like 2 months last year.
Mm-hmm.
They never expect the throw loop. They never expect the throw loop.
They always expect the throw loop, but they never tech it because they're bad, is what I've noticed more often than not.
As for the other games that are coming out on that day, I Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Again, that's another one I've actually played at an event. It's really fun, and the only reason I'm not gonna get it is because I still haven't played any of the other Like a Dragon games.
Congratulations. This is the one that requires you to play almost every one of them.
I know, and they've made it like the best one. Like when I played the demo of it, it had like the Pokemon Snap parody minigame. I was like immediately sold. But now I've seen there's like an entire Animal Crossing-ass and Pokemon-esque subsystem in this game.
Freaking Animal Crossing minigame. They've packed it with so many minigames. Yeah. I can't wait to not play any of them.
Like I'm genuinely like, this is the first time I any of the Like a Dragon games have actually sort of grabbed my attention and made me kind of excited to play it, and I just haven't played any of the others, so I don't think I can yet. I did get my housemate Yakuza Like a Dragon, the 7th game, as a Christmas gift, which he's going to put on his Steam Deck, in which case I might be able to play it as well. So maybe I'll start with that. What?
That's not the 7th game. It may be numbered 7, but it's actually the 8th game.
Yeah, 0.
0 is the 6th game.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll play. I might try and play if I can find some time. In the busy year we're gonna have.
Let me tell you,
Like a Dragon 7 at least.
I'm not gonna give like a plot synopsis again. I'm not gonna give a college lecture again.
Yeah.
But 1, 2, 3, and 6 are fairly short. So is Gaiden. Gaiden's also a mainline game.
Mm-hmm.
4 is a little bit meaty. 5 is the longest game in the series, longer than the RPG.
God.
0 is meatier than 4, but not as long as 5. And then 7 is not as long as 5, but longer than 0.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, 0 and 7 are the two I have easy access to. So those are the two I think if I was going to play any, those would be the ones.
You should not play 0 first.
I'll play 7
not play
first.
0 first. You should... That's fine. That's fine. There's not much. Don't play 0 first of the main games.
All right,
at least play like 1 first.
Does being a part of your Yakuza 101 lecture count as playing Yakuza 1 through 6?
That is true. I did spoil every game except for 6.
Yeah.
So,
There we go.
You should just play them. They're really not like.
I
They
mean,
go
good,
by
though.
so much faster than you think they will.
fair enough.
except for 5.
Except for 5.
Except for 5, but like whatever. They're all video games.
Yeah, I mean, if the first 2 are pretty quick, maybe I will start with 1 and 2, and then like go 0 to 7. Just not do 4, 5, and 6, or 3.
Every
4, 5,
game
and
is
6.
not like super long. They just have the option to just dick around.
Yeah, but
for-
I'm the
for-
kind of guy who will dick around and do literally.
That's
And
part of
let
the
me tell you
experience.
something. 0 is not important whatsoever at all. You can skip that one. You don't have to play it.
But I have that one. That's like the other one Yakuza game I actually own. 1 and 2 are both like sub 10 hours. That's pretty good actually.
Yeah,
just
so is
obviously said in the
Gaiden.
chat.
6 is like 10 to 12, depending on how much side content you do. I think I clocked 20 because I rescued every cat.
Oh, okay, fair enough. That's a lot better than I was expecting. I was just like kind of expecting them to be like 50-hour games each.
No, that's just 5 and 0, pretty much, and 7. 7's an RPG.
7's an
You expect that. You
RPG,
expect
yeah.
that.
Fair. I guess 1 and 2 aren't on Steam, are they? It's just the Kiwami games.
Yeah, the Kiwami games have effectively replaced those games.
Yeah.
However, they're worse.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
As I said before, there's a restoration patch for the first game that removes the bad English dub and the bad English script. It's good. You should play it that way if you can. If not, Kiwami's fine. The Kiwami games are fine.
Yeah.
Fair. Alright, shall I move on to February, or does anyone have anything to say about Under Night in Birth and Apollo Justice? Or Rugby 24, that's also coming out on the same day.
I mean, I'm fairly casual as an Under Night player, but I do play some Under Nights, and Under Night's great. Play Under Night.
Yeah. I enjoyed the first Under Night. I'm surprised that they're choosing to release this one on the same day as Tekken. That feels like fighting
Very
game
bold.
suicide. But you know, whatever floats their boat, I guess. And then a week later, we've got...
Are you consulting a list for this?
Yeah, I have a list of... It's got loads
Okay.
of games on it, so I'm just picking out the important ones. Which, like, a week later in February would be Grand Blue Fantasy, Suicide Squad, Persona 3,
Yeah.
all releasing on the same day.
Yeah. Releasing on the same day is that really awful looking JJK.
Yeah,
licensed
and
Arena Fighter.
Jujutsu Kaisen, the obvious winner out of the 4 of them.
I'm a part of a friend group that we love Jujutsu Kaisen. We watched like every episode of season 2 together. We've been telling a bunch of people to get into that series, but all of us just agreed as soon as we saw Curse Clash. It was like, wow, it's a bad anime arena fighter, and I think we've hit the point where even people that are shonen anime fans who will just eat up anything are becoming aware en masse that most arena fighters are really, really bad
Yeah.
and are just like kind of shitty Storm clones.
Yeah, the My Hero
Nobody-
Academia game
yeah.
was my one that did that. I played that, and that was
Nobody
awful.
really wanted this, and to top it off, it really looks off, like visually, compared to a lot of the other games that they're putting out that look like this.
Yeah, it looks kind of low
And, yeah,
budget.
not in a charming, janky way, but in a way that it's like, oh, you wanted this to look like the Demon Slayer game, but like it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look interesting at all. I suppose it makes sense that they would have one. It's kind of funny. I saw a tweet the other day about someone talking about shonen fans of shonen games in like the mid 2000s, where like your popular shonen would immediately get some crappy arena fighter, a JRPG, and some strange Japan only puzzle game all within like the first year of their anime coming out. And
Well, Demon
nowadays
Slayer's
all we get
getting
is like a
Mario
gacha
Party
game.
clone.
Yeah, it is getting a Mario Party clone.
So it's
We're
we're getting back to there slowly but surely.
Yeah, it made me realize that I guess this is the first Jujutsu Kaisen game. It's only ever shown up before this in like gacha games like its Grand Blue crossover and stuff.
It has its own mobile gacha that was revealed
Yeah.
like a long time ago with a pretty good Eve song as the opening, and then it just has not come out until like they started showing stuff off for it, and everybody was like, "Wow, this looks really bad," and the OC villain for it is extremely out of place for the character design philosophies of the series. Yeah, no, I don't have a picture of him on hand because I don't remember what he looks like. But look him up later. He's very funny looking.
All right, I'll take a look at that later on.
Yeah, Reload is going to be the interesting one out of that trio of games, because I think we can all determine that Kill the Justice League is probably not going to go over very well, based on everything that we've seen of it.
Yeah.
And Relink is it looks very good, but it's going to be hitting like a different audience that most of us are not as connected to, because we know a bunch of Grand Blue players. I don't think anybody here is one, but
yeah, no.
Reload is going to be a conversation point on this channel for sure.
I think so. It's funny because I think Reload's kind of the most boring out of the three, just because it's Persona.
Yeah.
It's not that different from Persona 5. Just obviously it's Persona 3 themed because it's a remake of that game, but gameplay it feels very much like Persona 5 when I played it.
Ozzy got me a picture of him. Here he is.
Wow, yeah, he looks really out of place. What on earth? I'll put him on stream. Hold on. So that everyone can see. Yeah, but like Persona 3 Reload, it's definitely going to be the best game out of those three. I'm pretty confident in that. But in terms of like actually what it adds to things, it's just going to be like a good remake of Persona 3. So
I'm very curious how that's going to go over, because I'm very worried how I'm going to feel about that game, because Persona 3 is probably within my top 20, top 15. If you would have asked me a while ago, probably top 10 video games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a good video game. It does not have very good turn-based combat gameplay in terms of how the combat is structured and balanced. It does not have a good progression system. It has some extremely confusing mechanical decisions for the social elements.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the scenes, like some stuff with its writing, is very ill-advised or poorly thought out. But I love that game because when the narrative really hits, I think it's like one of my favorite narratives that I've experienced in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the very specific early 2000s, teen wave style that it kind of has. And I love the music, and I'm really worried because I don't think we've heard anything about have we heard about an OST toggle yet for this game?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, although I've not been following
really
it that closely.
Worrying for me, because I have listened to a lot of the remixes that have come out for Reload that have been released. I don't like a single one of the new masters more than the original songs.
Oh, really?
I like the original songs more for every single one of them. Some of them by a very wide margin.
Oof.
So I'm very curious if there's also just some stylistic changes that kind of modernize it a little bit too much in ways where I like the kind of original, the original grunginess of the menus, or the way that certain things look very authentically 2000s in the PlayStation 2 original.
Yeah, like I said, they've gone very Persona 5 stylish with this game.
I am very curious if Persona 3, but it plays like a good video game this time, is going to make up for Persona 3, but all of the specific little nuances that are the reason that I love that game are kind of washed off of it.
I mean, I hope it does well, because I only experience with Persona 3 is portable, when they ported it to the Switch last year, and I did not finish that game. I played it up till September, I think, within it, and there was just too much about it that was like off with it. The narrative hadn't hit yet and was taking a bit too long. The way social links in that game are sort of handled are really annoying. I'm also, as the sort of guy who wants to try and experience everything in a sort of efficient way as possible, I found the way Persona 3 treats its like day, how specific you have to do everything on every day to be incredibly infuriating.
So yeah, but between the fact that you can only because between the fact that there are no platonic social links with female characters your age in Persona 3, and the fact that you have to be extremely specific with your timing to get all of the social links to begin with. Persona 3 is really bad for that because the game absolutely definitively was not designed for you to get all of the social links in a single playthrough.
Mm-hmm. There's not even any real massive incentive other than story to do that, because you don't get, unlike Persona 5 where you actually get perks to combat and exploration for getting the social links up, you don't get any of that in Persona 3. It just makes the Personas stronger.
That's a little bit of over-tuning in my opinion, if anything, because you do get you unlock the ability to fuse really strong demons and get specific skills unlocked through that stuff traditionally. It was only when social links became confidants that they also expanded from, you have the, your personas of the blank arcana become stronger. You have the ability to fuse blank now.
Mm-hmm.
They added on a bunch of other specific perks that is a double-edged sword, because a lot of them are really cool in 5, but a lot of them also I feel like a lot of them also some of them are so important that you sort of have to go out of your way to make sure to do them as quickly as possible because of either convenience or the fact that they break the game in half for you.
Mm-hmm. I think there's definitely a balancing thing to be there, but I'd rather that they give me stuff. It's kind of like skills in Fire Emblem, where I appreciated how Awakening introduced them and made them things you could do, but that some of those skills were absolutely busted. And then in future Fire Emblem games, they've tweaked them and tried to balance them a lot more, and I think that's what the Persona series should be going ahead with in terms of that, because I feel like more incentives for the confidants is a good idea on paper, and it just needs executing. And I think that's what I'm curious about with Persona 3, because there is a lot of old stuff in Persona 3 that I'm having played, being it I played Persona 4 first and then Persona 5 and then went back to play Persona 3. There's a lot of archaic stuff in that game that I know that I believe they've improved upon in Persona 4 and 5 that's really bugged me, and I'm kind of curious to see how they go about it. Tartarus is a great example, because I just don't find Tartarus to be a very interesting place to
Tartarus
explore.
Is just part of the grind. When you're in there, you're in there.
Exactly, and that's the main place, the main dungeon of all of Persona 3.
True.
So
and then February's also got oh, for sure. February's also got that Mario vs. Donkey Kong remake.
Ah, yes.
That Ubisoft boat game, and then
Skull and Bones.
A bunch of stuff that we probably don't have too much to say about until Leap Day, when they drop Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is going to become my personality for the entirety of March.
Hey. You're not allowed to skip like that.
Skip
in February, Honkai Impact 3rd Part 2 comes out.
Oh, does it? It's actually not. That's not on my list.
It's not on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not a new game. It's Honkai Impact 3rd.
Sure. And speaking of that, you did also skip the Tomb Raider Remastered Collection, which is also coming out in February.
True, I did skip it because Tomb Raider is a PSYOP franchise and doesn't actually exist. Name someone that has played a Tomb Raider game. I'm kidding. I'm just playing around.
It's the same weekend as Skull and Bones and Mario vs. Donkey Kong as well. Damn.
What?
What? What's going on?
Nice. Yeah, no, the Tomb Raider games are really fun, but it's really unfortunate how, nobody really talks about Tomb Raider as games so much as they talk about, the fact that Lara exists.
Yeah.
And they talk about some stuff with the 2014 reboot being very oddly designed, and that's kind of the most conversation that Tomb Raider gets for what is, comparatively speaking, one of the biggest franchises in video games.
I mean, I'd hope this changes it. Because, you haven't been able to play the classic Tomb Raiders on a video game console in,
in a good while.
That's what
forever. Several generations.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of super interested in these, because I grew up with the Tomb Raider games 1 through 3, and as a kid, I didn't really enjoy them very much. And I think that's partly because of how like their specific control schemes are. And stuff like that. Like, I enjoyed running around Lara's mansion in Tomb Raider 2, and that was about the extent of it. But I know that they're good games, and so like, and I know people like are beloved for them. So I'm kind of interested in picking this remaster up and playing through them again now as an adult, and sort of seeing
games
if I
you
can
definitely
get
like.
what it's all about.
They're before an era where every game was a third-person shooter
Yeah.
and controls the same. So. Tomb Raider, Resident Evil 1, those are games where you just have to like pick them up and go, oh, they're a little different. It's not an age thing either, it's just they're different.
It's a shame they're not including Tomb Raider 4 as well, along with Tomb Raider 1 through 3.
The Tomb Raider remaster is like Halo Classic Edition, or what was the anniversary edition?
Anniversary
Is that what it's
edition,
called? Yeah. You could switch to the original graphics. That's cool. That's neat.
Yeah,
Wish more remasters let you do that.
Yeah, it's a really good touch, especially because the remastered graphics do not look very good, and the original graphics are very charming. So
yeah, I know. I've played 2013 and the remake of one that they made. And I
14?
Yeah, it was 2013.
It's 2013.
I didn't really care for the campaign of the first game as how it was presented in the remake, but I remember I basically almost completely dropped that game, but then I played the Croft Mansion side mode, and I was like, wow, this is actually really good. I wish the game was like this.
See, I did enjoy that Tomb Raider remake, not enough that I was willing to buy the second one when it came out, but enough where it was like the first Tomb Raider game I actually liked playing. But I think that's because it was far more fitting with the other games of its genre in the time. It was more Uncharted-like, I suppose, is the way to put it. So I'm interested in playing this one again. Of the two remakes that come out that weekend, Tomb Raider is or remasters, I should say. Tomb Raider is the one I'm interested in. The other one is one I will probably play, though. Mario vs. Donkey Kong.
I mean, that's a pretty stacked month. This is February we're looking at. And I'm looking at IGN here, and they're saying...
it's another Terminator game coming out.
You got Skull and Bones. You got... Dark Force, Star Wars Dark Forces.
Yeah, new, like Nanton Jack said, new Share in the Wanderer, which for everybody that doesn't know, is the franchise that Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is a spin-off of.
Yeah. There's like a lot. Last Epoch, I feel like I've heard of that before. And Open Roads as well, I feel like something. Skull and Bones, I'm kind of curious about. It's obviously been in like development hell for eons at this point, and yet I still know nothing about how the game plays. I just know it's about pirates. So I'm really curious how it comes out and how it does, especially compared to Sea of Thieves, which it was obviously sort of competing with at the time, and then Sea of Thieves actually did release.
I have a friend that is a really big Assassin's Creed fan, and he was from what I know from talking to him. I might be off on how he currently feels about it, but he was really hoping for this game to play like the ship sections in Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, but as a expanded video game, and it doesn't look like it's really panning out like that for him, so he's kind of lost a lot of interest in it, which is a shame.
Yeah, that was something they shot down like a while ago too. It was like they were like, we got this multiplayer pirate game coming out, and everyone's like, oh hell yeah, it plays like Assassin's Creed, and like 2 years later they were like, it plays nothing like Assassin's Creed. And it's just like, okay.
It's so funny because I think it's the one time that people are like, wait, no, Ubisoft, like, do the same thing you normally do.
Yeah, go back. Go back. Turn course.
Alright, so Final Fantasy then.
That is my most anticipated game of next year. Like I said, that's going to become my personality throughout the month of March. I am extremely excited for Rebirth because I had a character arc with, I've been a big FF7 fan since I was a teenager when I got around to playing it, and that was around the same time that they announced Cloud for Smash, which was like really exciting for me because of that. And it was like I was so excited for Remake to come out, and then I got really like put off by Remake being what it was when the spoilers started coming out, and I was like, oh no, this is like the opposite of everything that I wanted. This is like the nightmare scenario.
This is the rebuild.
And then I played the video game and realized, wait, this means that I can bully people into playing the original version of an old video game, which they might have otherwise just not done because new shiny thing has come out. So I get to push my funny, iconic propaganda. But B...
That's never going to work.
Oh, the funny thing is I know it's not going to work. I don't care because I'm going selfish mode on FF7. So like I still have like it's a shame for people that wanted to get into FF7 through the remake series, but I still have FF7 and it's still one of the greatest video games ever made. So it like seeing in remake when I played it and was like, yo, these, the writing in this is generally really good and I love these versions of these characters and I love the way that this plays, and it's like it's a somewhat bloated game because of how heavily padded that game is, but it's genuinely, I think, one of my favorite games that I have played. I love the way that they expand on everything, and I love what they do with the world and the characters to kind of elaborate on them and show a lot of sides of Midgar and its content and its people that you didn't get to see in the original video game. And now that I'm enjoying this a lot more as its own thing, rather than actually being a remake of Final Fantasy VII, which it is very much just not. It is a sequel that is its own thing. I have become really excited, genuinely, for Rebirth and Reunion, and seeing how crazy off the rails it eventually ends up getting with things like the Zack timeline and everything else going on with the differences in plot and pacing between this and the original. I'm really excited to see all of the areas in Rebirth. I'm really excited to see the Calm flashback and Junon and Rocket Town. I'm gonna be really intrigued because me and a couple of my friends have been starting a betting ring, like a betting circle, on whether or not the shot of that one Aerith scene in the TGA trailer was a red herring or not. Because, like, are they going to play it straight, or are they going to do the thing that people keep cynically saying that they are absolutely going to do with the remake because it's changing things, and have, like, her live or kill Tifa instead, or something like that? Right now I've got, like, $20 down on it, so we're going to see how that explodes before more information starts coming out over the next 2 months.
I feel pretty confident that she will live in this one and then die in the final part of the trilogy. I feel that's where my headspace has gone.
Right now is that Aerith will still die as normal in the main timeline that you are following with the party with Cloud. Aerith will live in Zack's timeline. And that's how they're gonna, whatever happens with that entire plot thread and how goofy all of that is going to inform how that moves forward and whatever they're doing with that.
Well, I can't wait to get spoiled by it all on social media, like the day before it comes out.
Here's what's going to happen. They're going to revive Aerith with the power of friendship, and then she'll be reborn. hence the subtitle Rebirth.
That would be kind of based, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, her dying to be brought back to life is certainly also an option on the table, on the cards. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's because of my weird relationship with Final Fantasy VII. It's like a hard one for me to get super excited about. My weird relationship with Final Fantasy in general, where 13 is like the only one I've actually beaten. I still just need to go back and finish the original Final Fantasy VII, and actually pick up and actually play the remake outside of just experiencing the one chapter where they go to the honey bee in the remake, and that's it. Not doing anything else in that game.
Yeah.
So Rebirth, I'm sure will be good. It's a hard game because of spoilers, I think, as well. I feel like I feel like by the time I actually get around to being able to play Rebirth, I'm going to already know most of what happens in it.
To be fair, like I
demotivating.
when talking about remake, significant the spoilers for that game made me think that I wouldn't like it, and it was the journey, it was everything that happened on the way getting there being so incredible that was the reason that I ended up actually loving that game and coming around on the idea of this being like a rebuild rather than a remake.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll see how it goes. I expect it to be like you know one of the biggest games of the year, so I expect it to do.
Oh,
very
for sure,
well.
for sure, it will be.
I guess maybe if I get the time, I'll play the original Final Fantasy VII when it comes out and feel like I'm experiencing the game, because it's just been sitting in my Switch library for like 4 years now.
Yeah.
So time to pick it up. What else have we got coming out in March? We have Alone in the Dark, Dragon's Dogma 2, Princess Peach, and Rise of Ronin also all coming out on like the same day. Which is another
absolutely.
chaotic
That's gonna be a stacked week right there.
Yeah. I'm cautiously looking forward to Dragon's Dogma 2. I love the original Dragon's Dogma, but while I do trust Hideaki Itsuno and his team, I don't know if... So one of the main reasons I really loved Dragon's Dogma 1 is because it felt like the world was just a bunch of linear levels like taped together as an open world. It felt designed in a way open world games are not. And I'm not sure if that was because of the limitations of MT Framework, the engine it was on, or if that was deliberate design decision, because Itsuno made Devil May Cry 3 and 4 before that, and those are both linear games, so it would check out if it was a deliberate design decision.
Yeah.
But now that they have a much better engine with the re-engine, I don't know if they're gonna actually try to make a contemporary open world, or if they're gonna keep to that design ethos. I haven't seen enough, but I'm still cautiously looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to you the other day, but I got Dragon's Dogma 1 yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's also now on my backlog of things to do. So I'll see if I can play that ahead of Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out. The Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't feel like the sort of game I'll get to for years, to be honest. But at least it's excuse to get to Dragon's Dogma. Game. So
Dragon's Dogma 1 is not a long game, unless you do the expansion content, which is the Dark Arisen content.
Yeah, that comes with it. So
that, well, it's not. It was never DLC. It was just an expansion. So I don't like that content at all.
Oh, okay.
It's very punishing and unfair in a way that Dragon's Dogma isn't, and it feels like it's trying really hard to be a Souls game. I still completed it. I regret my time spent completing it, but I really do like the main campaign. Just know that there will be this weird robed woman who shows up in the starting town at the beginning of the game. She will take you to the island where the Dark Arisen content is. You're not even supposed to do that content until the end of the game. I don't know why she's there at the beginning, because you are literally taken back to the beginning town at the end of the game, so she could have just shown up then. You should not do that Dark Arisen content
Julie
when
noted.
she shows up.
You can get back off the island as soon as you get there, right?
Yeah, you can. It's just you might die there. Or you might get frustrated, and I just want it to be known that you're not supposed to be there yet.
How bizarre of a thing to do. But anyway, on that day, Princess Peach is obviously the main one I'm looking forward to out of them. New game by the 3D Mario people. Let's go. I don't actually have a. Yeah, it's seemingly, I believe it's made by the Nintendo Tokyo team. It might be the ones who worked on Captain Toad, but I'm pretty sure those teams are like pretty cross-compatible, pretty fluid. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm sure we'll see more of it coming up in the next few months. I don't have a massive amount to say on it now because I think everyone here has seen it.
Do you still have that guy on screen?
Oh, I might do. I might do, actually. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I'll
you
take
never
him
took
off
him
now.
off.
He's there, he's just chilling.
He's just chilling.
It's Silent Pete, special guest. He's got to be here. Wario wants me to put him back. He's alright, just put him back for a little bit, but he's coming down soon. Yeah, but that game looks good, and I think that's kind of it for all of the main games we have that have got release dates coming up next year. Like, I don't know if there's any other games that are expected to be out this year that you guys want to talk about now. Some of them are going to be quite far off, like that Shantae Advance game, which I kind of want to see if I can get that as an actual cartridge, like as a Game Boy Advance. That and Good Boy Galaxy, which came out last year.
Put that in your Game Boy player to record footage of it.
Yeah, that Black Myth Wukong game looks pretty good. That apparently comes out in August, and Space Marine 2 comes out in September.
I don't know what Space Marine 2 is. I know Warhammer.
It's Warhammer. It's a Warhammer third-person shooter. It's a sequel to a licensed Warhammer third-person shooter from the early 2010s that was a Gears of War clone that is supposedly actually really good from what I've heard about it. I plan on getting around to it at some point, maybe after I play Bolt Gun this year, but...
Fair. I've never really gotten into any of the Warhammer stuff, so I'm not really following it at all.
Yeah, Warhammer is something I've been I've wanted to dip my toes into it a little bit and check it out because it seems very interesting. But a lot of people that are very annoying or of questionable morality, unfortunately, are infesting the Warhammer community and have kind of given Warhammer a bad look for a lot of people, somewhat justifiably. So it's been something that I've been a little hesitant to get big into. Talking about 40k and calling it Warhammer. I mean, 40k is a part of the Warhammer series. But yeah, no,
it's called Warhammer 40k. What do you? what do they want?
And I'm gonna be these people. Okay, I'm gonna be real here. Those issues are in the Warhammer fantasy community too. But yeah, no, I've considered getting into it a little bit, and I was like, hey, there's a boomer shooter coming out, so I might play that in Space Marine at some point this year. But there is other stuff coming out this year, if I can remember.
I mean, there's stuff like Penny's Big Breakaway, Haunty, On Your Tail, all these really cool looking indie games. I just don't have a lot to say about them because they don't have release dates. And yeah, they're all good. They all look good. The ones I've played at events all play good. Decline's Drop is probably the biggest game I'm looking forward to this year from the indie scene. It's like a character action 2D platformer that's all hand drawn. It's very
That's
cool.
sort of exactly it. I don't want to be
Yeah.
like, oh man, this game's coming out. It's going to be so exciting. And then it's pushed back to next year anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know that the early access for Hades 2 is supposed to open up, and I'm really excited for that. But at the same time, like I actually was like one of the people that saw the 2018 TGA trailer for Hades 1 and was like, wow, that game looks super sick. But I waited until it came out on Steam because I knew that the EGS release was going to be like early access. So I waited until like last year to finally get around to playing that game, despite the fact that it had been on my radar for like 5 years, because I just wanted to play the game when it had all of the content. So I might wait for Hades 2 as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give Hades 1 a try this year. I think, again, my housemate, again, just got it on his Steam Deck. My problem is, as much as I should like Hades, because I really like ancient Greek mythology and stuff, like the aesthetic and all of that, the theming really appeals to me. I'm not a massive fan of isometric games in that style. Like the camera angle and the way you sort of play in Hades. They're just games like that, kind of like Diablo and Bastion and stuff, never really appeal to me.
Usually, but like Supergiant's games are an exception for me. I think that they play really well. Once you get used to the perspective, it is very surprising how like fluid it is and how easy it is to manage where you are going. And how you control, but if it depends on like Ozzy said, it depends a little bit on like how much it bothered you in Bastion, like how much you played of that.
Yeah, I didn't play a lot of Bastion, to be fair. I started Bastion and then I just sort of just wasn't feeling it and stopped playing. But I didn't give it very long, to be honest.
There's that 1,000 Year Door remake. I've actually so it's really funny. Super Paper Mario is the only Paper Mario game that I've ever played. But I was considering playing 1,000 Year Door last year until the remake got announced, and I just took it off my backlog and said, "Cool, I'll wait for the remake to come out." And that'll be how I get around to finally trying that. There's also
there's a lot I hope that the remake for Paper Mario: The 1,000 Year Door does, because as much as I love that game, it does have problems. Like, people hype that game up to be like the best thing Paper Mario has ever done, and like the beginning of that game is a huge slog. There's so much just standing around, dialogue, like aggressively. There's a lot of boring shit in the start of that game, and then towards the end of the game, there's also a really obnoxious side quest that makes you travel around and do a lot of pointless shit. And I feel like that second one will probably still be in the game, but I at least hope there's some quality of life stuff at the start of the game to make some of the monotonous, archaic RPG elements of the 1,000 Year Door just not be there, or at least skippable.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked with Ozzy in the chat, his jokes about it a lot, but that was just sort of a thing with GameCube games in general that they wanted to pad out the length a little bit. So the last bit of the game is just you running around, grabbing a bunch of shit around the game world. Wind Waker had that. Metroid Prime 1 has that.
You could say the blue coins in Sunshine are that.
Yeah, the blue coins in Sunshine, if you want to go for that, or like why people think that...
It goes even as far as Twilight Princess. It goes to the end of that system's life.
Yep.
There's a lot of late game padding for the GameCube games, and I just... Yeah, in Paper Mario, it's not like annoying as much. It is annoying. It's annoying in Paper Mario, but it's not awful, I guess. It just feels like a big waste of my time for not as much payoff. But if they can improve on that, this might actually be the best Paper Mario game. But people hyping this game up and ignoring all of the obvious flaws it has is one of the few reasons why I struggle to have the 1,000 Year Door be objectively the best one. Like when Super Paper Mario, the original, and even Origami King are all there and do really good things as well.
I've heard a lot of people that have told me that they actually prefer the original to 1,000 Year Door. So maybe I would say if I have time, I should play the original before Thousand Year Door because it's on Switch NSO, but the issue is I also said publicly that I wanted to do a Final Fantasy marathon this year, so I might be playing a few too many RPGs already.
Fair enough. I think
No, it's okay. You don't have to keep your promises.
Oof. I think my take with Paper Mario is that Paper Mario 64 is like a more consistent game throughout, but the Thousand Year Door is like a better story. Like people complain about the story of stuff like Sticker Star and Color Splash and all that, but I would argue that Color Splash and Paper Mario, the original, are about on the same level of plot and story as each other. It's just that people don't like the gameplay of Color Splash.
RPG spin-off or not, it's Mario. At the end of the day, I'm not expecting a deep or compelling narrative. I'm expecting a lot of charm out of it. That's what I'm coming to a Mario RPG for.
I don't think Thousand Year Door has a better plot. I think it has better sections, like where it's really good during those sections. It's really good. It's just it also has other sections that are not as good.
Yeah,
whereas
that is definitely
64
true.
is much more consistent.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's definitely true. There are some chapters of the Thousand Year Door that are great, and then there are some that are very monotonous.
What I've always heard praise for is the characters. I know people really love Goombella, people really love Admiral Bobbery, people really love Vivian and all of the other partners that follow you around in Thousand Year Door.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what new stuff they'll add to the Thousand Year Door and improvements. I think it being like a full remake is kind of what's made me the most interested about that game. Because there's a lot they could improve upon to make it a better game, and they don't have to change like massive swaths of the game or change story or anything like that. It's just little things here and there that could be improved to make it a much tighter experience. But we'll see how they go. We'll see how they do it. I'm looking forward to that.
Everything else that I'm looking forward to, that's on the horizon is something that it's like, oh, that looks really good, but we don't really know when it's coming out, so I can't say for sure that it'll be this year. Like, I'm really excited for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I assume that's coming out this year. We don't know if it is. I'm really excited for the Elden Ring DLC to finally come out. That's still a psyop as far as I'm concerned. That Phantom Blade Zero game that was revealed at the during the May PlayStation event last year, the summer PlayStation event, that game looks fantastic. It looks like really incredible, but like we don't know when that's coming out, and there's no way of knowing if the gameplay is as fluid and fun as the trailer made it look. I'm really excited for surprisingly. There's that game coming out, the first Berserker Kazan, that is like a dark fantasy action Souls-like with like a mix between a cel-shaded anime art style and a realistic, like highly textured art style that looks gorgeous. It is it's set excuse me. It's set in the Dungeon Fighter universe. It's a prequel to Dungeon Fighter, and it's just like this big AAA Souls-like game, and I'm like, that looks like a lot of fun. But I don't know when any of that's coming out, so.
Any other games we want to talk about? Or shall we move on to the final part of the today's podcast? The last 20 minutes, and that's our sort of predictions and things we expect to see this year, want to see this year. And I feel like I'll just start this off by doing the obvious one. There's no one here who doesn't believe that the Switch 2 is happening this year, right?
Oh, for sure.
It's gonna be coming out. So I guess the real first question with this is, when do we think the Switch 2 is coming out? When do we think they're going to reveal it, and when do they think it's coming out?
I have notes here that I'm looking at for predictions. I said the Switch 2, I think it's going to be called the Super Switch and have the Super Famicom buttons. I'm subscribing to that mentality. I think it's going to be revealed before mid-March at least, and will release in early fall.
Okay. That's not too far off from my own predictions for it. I think they're gonna reveal that they've got something in the works in mid-March, or at least just in March at some point. But they're not going to reveal what it actually is or any games for it until like May, and then they'll do a full blowout for it in June, where they actually like show off the games. Like we'll get a Nintendo Direct in June that's dedicated to showing off Switch 2 stuff. With anything that's still left on the Switch, we'll get like small Nintendo Treehouse sections or Twitter announced drops instead of being in a Direct.
Yeah.
And then September is when I think the game is going to come out, or the system is going to come out.
Like I was going to say September as well. Yeah.
And that's what my current thoughts process is for it. Colin, what are you thinking?
I think it's going to be the same thing too, considering that like we haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always subject to change. They can like push it back even further. There actually isn't any like, obvious like set obvious time frame for any of these things. We just kind of like we've just been kind of on like any month now, like any season now, I guess is the better way to put it.
Well, I feel like they have to announce it before the end of March, just because if it's going to come out this year and they want to factor it into their forecasts.
Yeah.
They need to sort of acknowledge it publicly. It could be a case where they announce that it exists at the investor meeting, where they just say to investors, yeah, we have new hardware coming out, we'll talk about it in a few months, but we expect that they'll do really well, sort of thing. They could very well take that approach. But I feel like with the way the internet works nowadays, they'll want to do a specific announcement ahead of that. So I feel like that's the one thing that has to happen this year.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna announce it maybe the same way as the Switch 1. At this point it feels like we can put aside the weird fear that it's gonna be actually called like the Nintendo Entertainment U or something, and it's actually like not
the Switch.
It's not just a Switch Generation 2. I would also like it to be called the Super Switch, but I feel like it's just too corny.
Yeah.
I'm sure they want to do it too. It's one of those things where it's like everyone would be on board with it, but like man, it just you can't. It's not the same. It's not the same anymore.
We had the Super Nintendo, and then it was
Switch.
the Ultra, and then was the Ultra 64 was the original code name. So what's the next level of hype beyond Ultra? We've gone from Super to Ultra. What's the next one along in the line?
Giga.
The Giga Switch, yes.
I was gonna say Super Switch, God Super Switch, but that works too.
Switch 2 would be like the easiest one, but I feel like that's also too easy. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna really surprise us this time around.
Switch Blue.
New Switch, no.
The Nintendo Flat, and it's now like very thin. And
because obviously, like, not only will it like name wise have to be different, but like we can assume it'll visually be kind of distinct.
Yeah. I mean, that's
it's still going to be a tablet with Joy-Cons, but yeah.
In terms of my predictions,
I'm
not sure when it's going to be announced. I don't think it has to follow a pattern.
Yeah.
It makes sense to be announced before their investor meeting. Is it in March or April?
April. It's like the start of April.
Yeah. Probably before that. If it's not announced before that, it doesn't really matter. Or at least not like formally announced. I think they did just have a throwaway like answer in one of their investor meetings before the Switch came out that said, yes, we're working on new hardware.
So before the Switch came out, they had already announced that the NX, like they were working on their next hardware.
The NX.
And so they announced that ages in advance, probably because of the Wii U doing bad. So when investor meetings came around, they could mention, oh yeah, the NX is also coming up close.
Big part of that is people mentioned, people have been talking in our Discord server a lot about this. Join our Discord server in the link below. But the general consensus has been that the what's the right word for it? The NX was revealed because the Wii U was tanking, and so they put that announcement out knowing that if the Wii U died because of it, it really wasn't going to be a big loss.
Yeah.
Switch momentum has been slowly dying just because of the age of the system and
It's been going up, actually.
Oh, has it?
Yes.
Okay, I heard that it was going down for a while. I guess it's going back up.
The base model momentum has completely halted.
Yeah.
But it basically just leapfrogged over to the OLED model, and it's going up. It has been going up. I don't know if it will still be on an upward trajectory this year, but it went up. It went up in the last.
That's interesting because that does bolster the point being made by a lot of people in our server that one of the big issues with just pushing for an early release or an early reveal for the next Switch console, depending on when it comes out, is when that announcement comes, they're going to heavily damage the momentum of their current Switch sales and their current hardware and software sales for their active platform right now, which still has games coming out on it that are major releases like H So Time and the Thousand Year Door remake and all of that. So it comes down to what hit they are prepared to take to bolster this new generation and make sure that they have the time to get that hype cycle running so that they can, they're going to have to make a sacrifice where they kill the momentum of the ongoing console, which is still doing very well, so they can prop up the boom for the launch of the next thing.
Yeah.
I have to say... Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it just wholly depends on what their going to Switch 2 plans are. I think there's a good chance that the reason why, they're not really pushing this thing out so fast is because, I don't even think it'll be that, when they announce this thing, when they drop, I sort of fully expect this just to be like the first generation where Nintendo actually does genuinely kind of give a shit about cross generation.
Yeah.
Because the Switch has 130 million units sold, and as much as it'd be easy for Nintendo to go the route of remastering all of their Wii U ports, fact of the matter is, it's just easier to make sure all that shit works out the gate.
Yeah.
Especially when you already have a console that, say if the Switch 2 fails, you have to keep some sort of bed that the Switch 1 can kind of reliably lay upon. So I think it's it could happen any day because at any point because the launch titles must be superfluous too because you gotta wonder how many of these games that have come out already for the Switch 1 in the last year could have been Switch 2 launch games, and how many of them are just going to have Switch 2 patches or enhancements or whatever.
So I'm not sure about that because the games that came out in the last year are all games that performed and looked really good for the system. So it feels
but that's
they were always just going to be Switch games.
But Pokemon.
Yeah, but that seems to be Nintendo's MO anyway. Just with the difference of Pokemon.
Yeah.
But Pokemon's always the outlier. It's almost not even it's almost not even fair to bring it up because Pikmin 4 looks fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Pokemon runs the way it does.
I'm fully confident that the next Pokemon game that they'll almost certainly announce in February is probably a Switch 1 title as opposed to being a Switch 2 title. Even if the Switch 2 is already out by the time it comes out. It'll just be how Pokemon gonna be. But I think I agree. I think it will have backwards compatibility, but part of me is feeling like this jump from the Switch to the Super Switch, we'll just call it, is going to be similar to the Nintendo 64 to GameCube or the NES to SNES, where it's really just a power boost, a big one, and they'll show it off by having a bunch of games that were already on the PS5, like Final Fantasy Remake 1,
Yeah.
running on the Super Switch. As
Well,
like
that's
a
what I was gonna
launch
say. They're gonna
title.
bust out. They're gonna bust out that new Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think the three big third-party ports that are gonna be a showcase for the power of the Switch 2 are gonna be the new Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, and Elden Ring. Because Elden Ring was a game that did not perform the best comparatively on PS4 and Xbox One compared to the Series S and X and PS5 versions.
Didn't the PS4? I thought the PS4 version of Elden Ring ran quite well. I thought it was the PC version of Elden Ring that was.
PC had a little bit of issues. Most of the issues with the PC version, actually, people found out that you can solve most of them by turning off RTX. It's just that RTX is kind of poorly implemented, but the...
Oh, no. Elden Ring just had straight up bad optimization on PC.
Oh, yeah, I believe that too.
Yeah, it's like shader shit.
Yeah, it's bad shader compilation.
Right. But yeah,
That's why it runs good on the deck.
Yeah.
Going back to what I was saying before, though, I don't think this new Switch is going to be announced before March 22nd. Definitely not before March 22nd.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely not getting any official
Peach Showtime
reveal
gets announced.
before then. Yeah.
Gets released. I do think the system, if it's this year, will come out definitely before Black Friday because obviously.
Yeah.
But I do think, aside from having like a big showcase for it a couple of months before that, they don't need to announce it this early in the year at all.
Yeah. Well, I
feel like
think if the hardware is a significant enough upgrade that Switch 2 games can't even run on regular Switch, I do think the most logical way to market that system and still have it have the Switch branding and reach is just call it the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would
probably.
absolutely be the easiest way to do it. It's just a bit of a boring name.
The Switch Series X.
It's boring, but like it's not as stupid as Xbox's naming scheme.
Oh, yeah,
And
Xbox
there's a
is
reason
dumb.
every PlayStation system is just called PlayStation Number.
Yeah.
I think they will.
acknowledge it, but...
I just think they'll come up with something a little more extravagant than 2, but I don't think they're gonna go the route of calling it like Switch Life or something.
The Nintendo U Switch 2, I can't wait.
It's gonna be. That's gonna be the big gimmick. It'll have handheld mode. Will flip open like one of those new smartphones, and it'll be called the Nintendo Dual Switch.
I think the
PS2.
funniest.
Let's go.
I think the funniest gimmick they could do is figure out a way to couple like the USB-C ports, so you could have like a Switch 1 and a Switch 2 and a clamshell, like DS style.
That's literally all I want from a successor. I want the DS to come back because the dual screen
I
added so
can't
much
wait.
stuff.
I can't wait to melt the clamp with the heat generated by the normal Switch.
I feel like one of the funniest predictions that I was thinking of the other day was like, what if they actually went back to using the 3DS carts? Like they put new guts in the 3DS like cartridge housing, and that's what the Switch 2 uses.
I mean, I think it's going to be
something. That's how they
close.
Trojan horse also just playing DS games.
I mean, it feels to me like that it's going to be something close to how the Switch cartridges are, but with like the little 3DS notch on the top.
Yeah,
that just doesn't let you place them into an actual Switch.
Yeah.
But I do want some way of getting DS and 3DS stuff onto the Switch 2. It's like would be way too expensive to actually do a dual screen thing.
Yeah,
but it would have been.
I was
would like
the
some
other day,
workaround.
I was thinking the other day, maybe they might figure out a way to make the other edges of the tablet like you can also attach shit to it. It's just not as like robust as, so you can do the flip grip thing without requiring like a whole piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's just a circle,
I guess-
and you can rotate it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So since we're pretty much just kind of grasping at nothing with, what the Switch 2 will, be called and look like and release outside of, I think we all agree that it's happening this year. What are you guys' predictions for other shit coming out this year that'll be revealed or released either on all platforms or for the launch of the new Switch system?
So I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be cross-generation. I think it's going to be a Switch 1 game.
It's definitely gonna be a Switch 1 game. I agree. I
think-
I think it's just going to be a Switch 1
fair
game, is what I'm
enough.
saying.
I think it will be a Switch 1 game that will release before the Switch 2 comes out sometime in probably the summer of this year. But I do think that it will get a native launch on Switch 2. I think it'll get a physical Switch 2 release as well, even if it's just the same game with no upgrade.
Just a new box, basically.
I think it'll get a dedicated SKU essentially.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend entirely on when Metroid Prime 4 launches. In my opinion.
Yeah, I think they're going to really want to push that game because they spent 7 years developing it, so it's going to be a massive. It's going to be a massive money loss no matter how well the game does, and they're probably just going to want it to sell well so they can get a cushion off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an unprecedented amount of time for a Nintendo game to take to develop, especially
a
Metroid game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I do think Metroid Prime 4 is going to be coming out this year. Yeah, whether it's just on Switch 1 or whether it has a Switch 2 variant or whatever, I think it's going to depend entirely on when it actually releases.
Yeah.
If it releases
And
before or after the Switch 2.
I really hope that this game is really good because we're not
Same.
getting a Metroid Prime 5 for a long time.
Oh yeah, if this one's good, they could just do what they did with Prime 2 and jumps immediately using the same engine and just
True.
make a new
That's
game.
true. It would be nice to, make a game 3 times and then have to
Yeah.
not do anything else with it. Let's see.
Exactly.
Let's see Galaxy 2 Prime 5. I think, Metroid Prime 4. Other big, rumored things that I think are so heavily rumored that we don't have to really worry about getting into rumor leak information when we're talking about them. Probably something new with F-Zero, whether it's just a budget title as a new game.
GX.
Or, a GX remaster will probably come out towards the end of the Switch 1
Yeah,
cycle.
I think that's my thing. Stuff like that, like GX and the rumored Kid Icarus game, I am now starting to question whether or not those would just be brought over to Switch 2 to start with. Metroid Prime 4 has to be a Switch 1 title because they announced it as a Switch 1 title.
So the thing about that is Colin had a really good point earlier. Most consoles, Nintendo didn't do this with most of their recent consoles because the GameCube was a failure, so they just kind of jumped ship to the Wii. The Wii U was a failure, so they jumped ship to
Don't forget,
Switch.
the Wii, towards the end of its life, was a failure.
Yeah, it was the Wii started off strong, and then the ship slowly started sinking once they realized there was a leak in the corner. So
Yeah, basically by 2009, at least the end of 2009, all momentum for that system stopped.
yeah, the casuals left after a while. So the Wii was a sinking ship, so they jumped to the Wii U. That didn't work out the entirety of that console's life cycle, so they jumped to the Switch. So Nintendo has not had a they have not had their we are still getting PS4 and Xbox One games in 2024 moment with most of their other consoles, except for the SNES and the NES, which got games for them years after the new consoles came out to replace them. So I think that there's a handful of games that I'm predicting. So the Fire Emblem remake, which is probably Genealogy, I think that's going to come out on Switch 1 and Switch.
I think that one's a Switch 1 as well, but I also think that one will be out before.
I think a lot of these games
Switch
will get
2.
released for Switch 1, but they will also get releases for Switch 2, assuming that they come out shortly before or sometime after the Switch 2 is out. Sort of like just any other cross-gen title, like PS3, PS4 games, PS4, PS5. I think Genealogy, F-Zero, Metroid Prime 4 will all be that, and I have a feeling, because I remember it being rumored at some point, and there was all that stuff with him working with Valve on the Portal game ports. I have a feeling we're gonna get a remaster of Gold Source Half-Life 1 that will come to like modern consoles, including the Switch and Switch 2. Maybe a Half-Life 2 Complete Edition, since that's still not on modern hardware as well, and a lot of big PC titles from around that era have been coming to modern platforms. You know, like the Doom games, a lot of the Thief games. I'm pretty sure a lot of stuff like that has been getting brought forward and is doing very well. You know, Quake 1 and 2 got those remasters that are incredible. Yeah. I think the big launch titles for the Switch 2 are going to be... I think within the first, 5 months of that console being out, there will be a Kirby game on it, but I don't know if it's going to be cross-gen or not. But I'm thinking there's going to be a new 3D Mario as, one of the big launch titles.
That's the launch title. I'm confident on that as well.
And I'm saying I'm going to say it now, there's going to be a Zelda game, but it's not going to be an announcement for the next big 3D Zelda. It's either going to be a brand new 2D Zelda game by a team that is not like the core 3D Zelda team at Nintendo, or it will be an outsourced remake of a previous 3D Zelda game. One of the two.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it being announced. I don't necessarily see it being released this year.
I don't think that they're going to return to the old style anytime soon.
I think
even in a remake, even with a remake.
I don't know about that.
I don't agree with that, yeah.
I think Aonuma's team might not. I think that Nintendo knows that well-received older games are well-received older games.
Yeah.
And would, be willing to do it anyways. I understand why you feel that way, but I do feel like it's the pessimism taking over because of the Aonuma interview.
Yeah, I think that
they should have never put that man in charge of Zelda. Never.
I think they're going to because there's more benefit for them to re-release and remake older Zelda games than just putting them on something like NSO. Because NSO, as much as I love NSO and I play it, I know for a fact that NSO is barely played by anyone on the Switch's user base. So they do it as an incentive to get people talking, the hardcore community. But when it comes down to it, they would much rather remake or resell these games, as they'll make far more profit. They'll make more money re-releasing Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, for example.
Look at what happened
cartridge rather
to
than making GameCube NSO as an example.
Look at what happened to the limited time Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Not only did that game sell over 10 million copies, it's one of the best-selling games in Nintendo's history, and it's just a remaster of 3 Mario games that were previously released with very few graphical upgrades.
Yeah. So, I think that they will still, when it comes to doing core Zeldas, when it comes to doing 3D Zeldas, even if something like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask is on NSO, they'll still choose to remake them and re-release remakes of them, even if those remakes are quote-unquote remakes, are just remasters of the 3DS game. Yeah. Something like that is almost certainly going to happen. Because they're not going to wait another 7 years for Zelda to do anything with the next mainline 3D Zelda game. And as much as I would love Grezzo to come in and make a new 2D Zelda game, I don't know. I have this feeling it should have happened already if that was going to be the case. So I almost feel like Nintendo is just leaving them to remake older Zelda games instead.
So I don't think 6-7 years of development is going to be the norm for Zelda going forward. Breath of the Wild only took 4 years to develop. If COVID didn't happen, so would have Tears of the Kingdom.
I was being a bit facetious when I said that because of how long it
I just want to make it clear that it's probably just going to take 4 years at most.
But I think that there's going to be something Zelda in between that time. I don't necessarily think we'll see it this year unless it's just the long-awaited Wind Waker and Twilight Princess sports being brought forward. I don't feel like anything new.
I actually
will take
think
place.
if we get Wind Waker and Twilight Princess in the future, they're going to be more like Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch than re-releases of the Wii U ports.
See, I can see the argument for both. It's a weird one because I feel like Wind Waker
it's
HD
weird.
added enough that it would be, even though I think Wind Waker GameCube looks just as good as Wind Waker HD, I think all of the changes they made to Wind Waker HD are like make it the version of the game I'd want to play.
there's
Twilight Princess not so
actually-
much, but
For Wind Waker, there's actually nothing stopping them from modifying the code to put that in.
I guess if they wanted to go that route, then I would be fine. Then
Because
I'd be
people
fine
have
with
done it. Fans have done it.
Yeah.
Already. The Swift Sail is in the original game.
It's also the Triforce quest.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they can just change the contents of
And they'd
of
have
those
to change
chests.
whatever the Tingle tuner does to a new Tingle item. Because
This is
the
true.
Tingle
They would
bottle
have to
also
completely
doesn't
remove
work.
the Tingle tuner.
We'll get the Tingle phone, and it connects to a mobile phone app that you have to download called the Tingle app.
Yeah, I recently saw this
that.
this video on Twilight Princess HD that pointed out a lot of things that I didn't notice beforehand, because I've always said Twilight Princess HD is a worse way to play Twilight Princess. Because the graphics they're too high definition. So they make the game look worse than it actually does. So they actually completely changed how Link controls, how Epona controls, how the camera controls, how the music functions. That version of the game, aside from gyro controls, which people always make a fuss about, I don't even use them, is just like a worse Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I can see the argument for wanting to do the original Twilight Princess, although I would like I enjoyed playing Twilight Princess HD in Master Quest mode. I think having the ability to have the flipped map for people who like that is a good idea, and having the motion controls. But that is also stuff as shown by the Pikmin 2 port and the Pikmin 1 port that they could also just add to the original game through hacks. Yeah. So I don't mind that either way for the for Twilight Princess. For Wind Waker, it feels to me like Wind Waker HD is still the way to go for it, but they could do it either way. Ultimately, it's still the same game.
Could you put this image on screen?
Yeah, sure.
This is the Twilight Princess HD art direction.
Sure.
Thank you, Ozzy, for sending me this.
Sure, I'll put this on the screen. So some of my predictions, I think, for stuff we'll see this year. I mean, Creeks, you covered a lot of them off already. I do think that we will be getting some form of new multiplayer game that launches when the Switch 2 does. Because, like, Nintendo's pretty consistently had some sort of new IP to show off the system, what the system can do. Obviously, I don't necessarily know if the Switch 2 will have a real gimmick this time around, like every other one has, but I don't think that's going to prevent them from doing a... Yeah?
The chat overlay just broke on stream.
Oh, did it?
No.
I'll fix that.
I watched it break in real time.
I'll fix that while I'm adding this stupid picture in.
I think I saw someone say that they think that the gimmick for the Switch 2 will actually be almost entirely software.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like they're gonna this time for real, folks. They're gonna really build into like the social features, and that's gonna be the gimmick of the Switch 2.
Yeah.
Is that it's gonna be a Switch, but maybe they bring back like Street Pass or Miiverse or just like those general concepts, not as is, but
honestly, that's kind of what I think would be the ideal situation. Is the Switch, when they jumped ship from the Wii U and 3DS to the Switch, it's very clear that they like cut out a lot of stuff from both of those systems to try and make the most streamlined product as possible. I feel like reintroducing some of those cut features, like a microphone and camera, for example, that were on both the Wii U and 3DS and allowed for games to use the camera and microphone, would just be like a real easy addition that would unlock more options for gameplay. And Street Pass is obviously another one. Street Pass was fantastic, and it's a shame that they didn't have it. But there are ways you can work around that now. You could have, if they want people to actually use the mobile app this time, like they had with the Nintendo Switch mobile app, you could have Street Pass be something that's in the app, so that you carry that around with you, and then you can connect it to your Switch 2 when you get home, and put all the Street Pass stuff onto the Switch 2. Like, there are ways around that you can re-include features like this by taking advantage of.
It seems pretty clear to me the reason
it
seems pretty clear to me the reason they went with like the mobile app, the NSO like voice chat app, and they never really did anything crazy with the OS of the Switch 1 is simply because it was just not a focus. It was not it's not that like it would be like too much for the console, like when they started adding like themes to the 3DS and just like shit started to really chug or whatever. I think they just simply, because apparently it's the same reason we didn't really get like media apps, is it just was like, yeah, we're just gonna focus on making sure this thing runs games like as good as possible above like literally any other. And I know that seems very silly because it's like underpowered hardware, but it is very optimized gaming mobile hardware.
Yeah.
Honestly, everyone has phones, everyone has smart TVs these days. Like,
yeah,
you don't need game systems to watch Netflix anymore.
Yeah, you can watch Netflix at 5 FPS on the weird SoC built into your like Amazon Fire TV, like
Yeah.
You don't need the thing that's already like built to play Doom 2016 to like.
I think the media apps like Netflix or whatever are like a very much a side thing, and I don't necessarily think you need like the 3DS sound app to make a resurgence, as fun as that would be.
But on a Switch 2, where it seems like they, like, from what we know of the hardware, that they do want to push for this thing having like a lot of RAM and like a lot of CPU overhead. Like those things, it would be weird if like I expect like the OS to kind of remain the same, just like filled out on the Switch 2, but like it's gonna be very weird if the Switch 2 comes around with as much of a power bump as it has, and it still can't do other things.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go forward with a gimmick on the Switch 2, is just to re-add all of this software related stuff that allows for, and a few hardware things like camera and mic. They just allow for more gameplay options.
Yeah. I think they also know, like Nintendo, I think at this point would be aware that those things would put them above like the deck or like the ROG Ally and like all those PC handhelds where like you have to like you can't just download the Netflix app. You have to like open up Firefox and then go to the Netflix website and navigate that on a tablet screen.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of other things I think to expect, I think some sort of gimmick, some sort of multiplayer game as well to come out during the first few months of the Switch 2 that's some sort of new IP is something I would expect. I wouldn't be surprised if Switch Sports got a sequel, like a Switch Sports Resort, because as poor as that game is in all of Nintendo's sports related stuff over this decade, over this decade has been pretty piss poor. It's still sold really well, so I fully expect like a Switch Sports Resort type game to come out over the next year or during the first few months. I don't expect Mario Kart to come out this year. That's something that we will obviously get, and same for Smash Brothers, but I don't expect either of them to be a this year title.
Yeah, I think given some of the top sellers on Switch's first-party lineup, if it's in an existing IP that has already done really well, no matter how many features it lacks, it will still do really well.
Yeah, Animal Crossing and Splatoon are also series I don't expect to see a new game from in this first.
Not for a little while. Not in the first
for
year.
a while. Yeah. Interesting that you said you brought up Kirby. I feel like I could see a Kirby spin-off happening on the Switch this year, but I don't feel like we'll be seeing a mainline Kirby game this year. Maybe next year.
I think it'll come out early next year.
Possibly,
and I think it'll be cross-gen.
Yeah, like a March of next year, we get like Forgotten Land 2 or something.
Someone in chat mentions giving NSO the boot. Not happening.
Nah, that ain't happening.
Not happening.
Not happening.
Actually,
Actually, like
sticking
this
around.
this is probably a hot take, but like base NSO is definitely worth it with like the retro back catalog and like the free games they give and everything. I'll give, like, especially if you do the family plan, which I think they just expect. I think they just know everyone does that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just aware that everyone does the family plans for NSO. But yeah, I mean, like, their back end could and should get better, but I feel like as services, they're fine. Like, I don't...
Yeah, I think that they're designed to keep going. I had this conversation with a friend the other day because we were talking about...
I don't think they're going to stop or like reset or anything.
Yeah, we were talking about NSO continuing on and about how Nintendo 64 barely has anything. We don't think like adding, say, turbo graphics to expansion pass will be able to push numbers up on it in the same way that adding 64 or Game Boy Advance does. But honestly, I don't feel like there actually is that much of an issue with it, especially when you add Game Boy Advance to the mix, because there's like so many Game Boy Advance games, like a huge library of them, that they could easily survive off of that, adding one of them like a month for like the next 3 years and be fine. 64 is obviously less, but if they move to third-party stuff, then there's plenty of stuff on the 64 that could keep them going for another 3 years.
The only ripoff for NSO is just if you buy base expansion pass without anybody else paying for it.
I feel like this is going to be a very weird thing to say, but hear me out. I feel like the actual like launch of the Switch 2 is going to feel a lot like the launch of the Wii U, where it's going to be very heavily focused on like, look at this back catalog of pre-existing stuff we already have on the Virtual Console and the Wii, and then it's like, here's a greatest hits of like AAA of the last year 5.
I guess, actually,
it's gonna I think it's gonna be that. It's gonna be like, because like even like the Switch 1 first year was kind of like that, where because they didn't have backwards compatibility to fall on, there was a lot of like, check out, we have the greatest hits of 2016 and 2015 coming over.
You just made me think of something. Do we think Nintendo Selects are going to come back this year? Because that's always a thing they do at like the end of the console lifespan. But
yes, but it's only going to be for games that stopped selling. Like, you're not going to see Breath of the Wild in it, but you might see the Link's Awakening remake.
So, I feel like they might put Breath of the Wild now that Tears of the Kingdom is out. I feel like they might. Put Breath of the
that
Wild
still sells
it.
full price, no problem.
I guess we'll see. I feel like all of the year 1 games feel like safe bets for a Select, regardless of whether they sell on Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Another way to buy that game. Like, and I wonder if that would be like a good thing to do as well in the build up to Switch 2, because then you could push older Switch games and be like, these also run on the Switch 2, but you can buy them here as well, and just sort of get them more on shelves earlier on in the Switch 2's lifespan to help have more games out there, I guess. Just a sudden thought I had based on what Colin said.
Yeah.
Yeah, Star Allies is definitely getting sent to Selects, Hal. That is very true. And Tropical Freeze again, probably. After being on the Wii U Selects.
What do we want to see on the Joy-Cons 2?
Work.
I
There actually
I don't
was.
know.
I don't know.
Analog triggers, I guess, and analog stick, maybe. Those are the only two things I can really think of.
Analog triggers would be nice, but I feel like the reason that they didn't have those on the original Joy-Cons is because they genuinely did expect people to more regularly pop off a single Joy-Con and hand them to somebody and use them as buttons.
I guess that's true, yeah, because you'd have to have the ones on the inside also be analog, I suppose. I mean, if for consistency's sake.
There was like an actual like patent, like a Nintendo patent came out of like Nintendo, I guess, making their own like Hall effect joystick.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably see that on the next gen. Or not. I don't know, because usually when Nintendo patents come out, it means they're not going with a thing, but that seems like a pretty like huge worthwhile upgrade to the Joy-Cons is to have sticks that would not drift ever. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I would like to really see?
Mm-hmm.
I'd really like to see back paddles after manhandling a Steam Deck for like almost 2 years now. I think they need to put those SL, SR buttons that are inside the Joy-Con that are like literally never used. They need to put those things. They should like mirror them on the back or something.
Yeah. Could do something like that. It's hard for me to really know how to change the Joy-Cons in a significant way. Like, they're pretty like. Other than obviously
I feel like they won't.
drift and stuff like that.
I feel like...
Because I know people want to have the D-pad instead of the buttons, but like I totally understand why they have the buttons and not the D-pad. Like it makes sense from a detaching this and giving it to people point of view. So I
feel like...
Yeah.
I feel like next gen we might actually see that. We might see like a couple different like Joy-Con varieties. Because now they'll have like a Joy-Con like 2.0 and maybe it'll just be like easier for them to shape them out or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't think the actual shape. I know a lot of people want them to be like basically gamer controller shaped.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that will happen just because I think Nintendo knows keeping it like flat is just good for modularity.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if they'll do something with the Joy-Con grip instead, or just like how the Joy-Cons actually like latch onto the Switch.
I wonder. I do wonder if they like if there might be a thought process of keeping it exactly the same as the Switch 1 Joy-Cons so that you can use your Switch 1 Joy-Cons on the Switch 2 as well.
I expect forward compatibility, but I also do expect some sort of like like distinction.
It has a little 2 in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
That's it.
It really is just the Super Nintendo, the Super Famicom color scheme, and nothing else.
Nothing else. That's all they needed to do. In terms of non-Nintendo stuff, I'm honestly not really sure, to be honest. Like, I know there's currently rumors going about a new Banjo-Kazooie game being in the works, but like, I will believe that when I see it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
The big stuff for me for like non-Nintendo is, like I said, it's stuff like that. Dungeon and Fighter Berserker prequel. It's Phantom Blade Zero. It's Sparking Zero. Stuff that is probably not.
Yeah, this is all stuff that's like been announced.
Yeah, stuff that's probably not coming out outside of FF7 Rebirth and Reload this year, because most of the things that I could predict for a company like Capcom or Sony are stuff that I'm either like just guessing based on information that's already been leaked, or it is stuff that is probably not what I would like to hear. I do hope that Now that we're getting to this summer is going to be Street Fighter 6 has been out for a year. By that point, season 1 of the DLC will be wrapping up. I think it'll be if Capcom does truly have a second fighting game project in the works, whether that be new rival schools or a new, original fighting game IP or a new versus game. I think later this year would be a good time to reveal that. And I also think, hopefully, the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC expansion for Elden Ring will be revealed at Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest and feature. I put a list of stuff that I'm expecting from that. I think it'll have a new region, a new region on the map that'll have 3-ish sub-biomes, including 2 new legacy dungeons and a new underground region. I think there's going to be a few new mini-boss types for the mini-dungeons, and a lot of them will just be reused from the base game. Somewhere around 4 new, remembrance bosses, which are, the big main bosses that have their own music and achievements tied to them. And I think it'll focus a lot on the death element, and holy damage will still be pathetic and not viable because everything resisted in the second half of the game. My big prediction is, of the new bosses they introduce, one of them will be a hidden super boss that people do not find or figure out how to access for at least 2 days after the DLC drops because it is so out of the way. And once people find it, that super boss will be the main character of Twitter for 3 days.
Hopefully the DLC launches with Elden Ring on the Switch too. Maybe that could be part of the selling point.
Yeah, that'd be a good time.
Yeah, I feel like we'll get some more Kingdom Hearts 4 stuff this year.
I hope so, but I think it'll be at D23 if it happens.
Oh yeah, I don't necessarily think it'll be at the Jeff Keighley's, but
yeah,
I think Missing Link is going to come out this year. The beta test for it is already running right now, and I feel like once that is out, it's just open season for Kingdom Hearts 4 news and reveals from that point on. And I feel like we'll get something from it this year. Maybe the next preview trailer showing off actually a bit more of the Star Wars world that they teased in the first trailer. It just feels like something that's got to be there. I don't really know what else... I don't really know what to expect from Sony or Microsoft first parties this year, if anything.
I don't know what to expect because they haven't. Sony's been kind of quiet on their front. We know that they have, Marathon is coming out, and there's all of those games that they're publishing, Rise of the Ronin, which is coming out. That new Team Ninja action game is coming out very soon, but it's that's an external thing that they're helping publish. We have Lost Soul Aside, which looks really interesting, and Stellar Blade. But we don't know a lot of what they're working on internally outside of the whats. So
yeah. I know the big thing for Sony is this year they have the PlayStation 5 Pro is supposed to come out.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to remember if that was already out or not.
We're gonna figure out what the hell that thing does and why we need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the only other thing we know regarding Microsoft is there was a recent thing recently that apparently they're pushing up their next gen plans from 2028 to 2026.
Oh boy.
Oh wow.
Apparently the story that's been told to me is that they don't have a pro console planned because according to Microsoft, the Series S is the next gen console and the Series X is the pro console.
Yeah.
Which means that Sony's next gen console is as powerful as their pro console and their pro console is just gonna leapfrog them in a PS4 Pro to 1X way.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it matters, but it's not a good look.
Yeah.
So apparently, and then the leaked the refreshes, the digital only Series X that got canned. So now they're just going to be pushing up whatever their PlayStation 6 competitor is supposed to be is now going to come out in 2 years.
Honestly, I believe that with the Switch 2 coming out potentially this year, that's like usually going to be the start of like building up to whatever the next generation of consoles is, and it feels only like the PS5 and Series X just started now because the Xbox One and PS4 have only just stopped getting exclusive, like getting games from them. But with Xbox, I think the Series S really, from everything I've spoken to people about who work on Xbox games, the Series S is like a massive kneecap to anything. And that's a big part. It's a big cause for all of the delays that a lot of Microsoft games have had in this generation, and a lot of the technical issues that they've had. And so I could see them pushing the next one forward and just having it be one system and not doing the Series thing again, and just like abandoning the Series S and X basically.
The Series S is like we've talked about it on stream. We laughed at E3 when they announced.
Yeah.
They ended their show on a new Series S.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because it is the better selling of the two consoles, but that's because there's way more stock of the Series S.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
And also, they really have positioned it as the fuck it, who cares Game Pass box.
Mm-hmm.
And it's working against them because it's really, people talk about the Switch being underpowered hardware, but it's, literally a tablet. But they're selling a box that's, more inline power-wise with the PlayStation 4 Pro than even the One X.
Mm-hmm.
It's really held behind, and they have that stupid fucking thing where all the games need to be identical across.
Yeah, Series
S Series S and X. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive problem that Microsoft has had this generation, and I can totally understand them wanting to move on so that they can not have this problem anymore, and then potentially they'll actually have more games that they're working on release. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I do wonder, although on the topic of Microsoft, I just remembered Fable is obviously coming. I wonder if that will actually release this year, because that's probably the next big game they have in the lineup.
Not sure.
Apparently, Hellblade 2 is this year, supposedly.
We'll see. I do hope there's a couple of announcements that I could see for stuff that is coming out later. I think I could see. I think there will be a lot of big game announcements for the Switch 2 reveal that are sort of in the vein of the Switch presentation and the other console presentations close to their launches and the 2017 Nintendo E3. I think there will be a few games that are announced that are a ways out, or that are teased that are a ways out. I do think we need to maybe brace ourselves for the idea that later in this year they could tease, hey guys, we got a Smash game coming for this thing.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did with the new console, expect to see a new Mario Kart, a new Smash, a new Splatoon in the future, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know how likely it is, but I would personally from an Xbox presentation this year to have id Software come out and say, hey guys, remember Doom 2016? We're doing something like that for Quake.
Quake 24.
No, that's when they come out and they announce they're making a Star Wars game. What are you talking about?
True.
Oh no.
What was the basis for that rumor even happening?
Some guy.
Some guy.
Some guy.
Some lad.
Iconic guy.
Some guy said they were working on a Mandalorian game, and it's just like, just the concept alone is so like viciously like evil. That even though there was no way it was true, it was like the ire is still there. It's the awful idea.
On the topic of Smash Brothers, I feel like, I mean, we know we're getting 4 Spirit events this year, but I feel like they're gonna do something for Smash's 25th anniversary. They don't always do things for anniversaries. Mario and Zelda are basically the only 2 they put focus on, and then Pokemon and Kirby from their own respective companies. But I feel like Smash Brothers is kind of big enough that they'll want to do something for it. At least it will get a shout out. I don't think it will get any special merch or anything, but I think the original Super Smash Brothers will at least be put on NSO. And they'll make a big deal out of that fact. And the Spirit events will be... I mean, maybe that's part of when they announce that another Smash Brothers is going to be on the way. Like, maybe they save all the Smash anniversary stuff until, like, June. And then come out with it. Who knows? I feel like there's going to be something Smash related this year. I guess we'll see exactly what it is.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't really think of anything else, and I know we're getting to like the 2-hour and 40-minute mark.
Yeah,
so,
something about that.
So, are there any final thoughts and predictions and stuff you want to say for 2024? Otherwise, we'll start wrapping things up, I think.
I think that's
More
everything.
layoffs.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah,
It's
unfortunately.
true,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it's gonna get worse from here on
There'll be
out.
so many layoffs.
This is true. Man. Yeah. Alright, well, with that, thanks everyone for watching the first episode of Good Morning Source Gaming of 2024. So
Ever.
the first good ever. The refresh. We will refresh when the Switch 2 comes out. The new Good Morning Source Gaming. So yeah, we'll patrons are on screen right now. I might need to update this end card actually, but I'll let it play on loop. But yeah, I've lost my trail of thought. I think
That's everything.
Yeah, that is everything. Well, there'll be more Good Morning Source Gamings this year. We actually have a schedule for them this time around, unlike last year where it was kind of random. So, but we'll announce those, a good few days in advance. Look forward to them, and look forward to anything else we make this year as well. Have a good rest of your Sunday, fellas and gals and other non-binaries. Yep, I'm rambling now. See ya.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Remember to return to the source.
All right, that was fun. I have been